What's up, guys? Just give me a second here. That's what's up. All right. Shavua tov, good tavach. This is how we do it, guys. That's the topic. I guess we mix it up a little bit tonight. And yeah, let's see. Let's have fun. And let's learn. I learned the most from these dialogues, and I hope you do too. So on that note, let me adjust my camera here. I thought I'd make the background a little more informative, just so I don't have to repeat myself so much. Oh yeah, I guess you can, I don't know. TikTok throws a lot of stuff on the screen. But yeah, like and follow. No politics, and I guess the rest you can read. So yeah, I hope your Sabbath, if you're Jewish, was restful, right? I guess your Sabbath, if you're a Christian, is tomorrow. So whatever. But with, blue laws aside, you guys still don't rest enough. Yeah, let's see. All right, so we got a good crowd, and this is what we do. Man, it's been almost daily, I guess, since Pesach. But the reason I feel so encouraged to do these shows is because we get new people every time asking the same question. Well, making the same statements, really. I didn't know you could convert to Judaism. Jews saying, Jews don't proselytize. And it's everyone. Yeah, can you join? Let's see. Can my friend Alon join? You're almost there, Alon. You need 300 more followers. There's some rule that TikTok has that if you don't have 1,000 followers, you can't join. What's a nice Jewish boy like you doing on TikTok? Well, you sound like one of these rabbis who put people up on a podium and cut their ponytails. That's not me. Out of thousands of religions, why is your religion true? We don't use that word true here, right? I mean, it may be true to me, but unless I'm speaking to another person who's convinced, I won't use the word true. That's the definition of being somewhat of a fanatic. You start expecting people outside of your religion to adopt your theology. That means you have to communicate with people in a language that they understand. So it's reason and logic. That's it. That's all we use here, unless you're a Jew. Do you need to learn Hebrew to convert? Let's see. Not necessarily. You could pray in English. There's some prayers that have to be said in Hebrew. For example, they make an emphasis about the Shema, in particular, that portion of the Shema where it's a halakha to elongate the Dalet. Some portions are expected to be said in Hebrew, but I think the whole notion of elongating the Dalet and I think it says that someone who davens for the Yamid, their haze can sound like chetz. I think this is the Rambam brings it down, but I think this is more what's called midat hasidut, that it's a nice thing. So yes, if for some reason you only knew English and not Hebrew, but you could pray in English and it counts. So yes, there's a lot of things they did back then that they don't do now. What do you think about Rabbi Abe Finkelstein? Is that like the anti-Zionist guy? Someone says, Hail Satan. Okay. Would I need to lose some skin? Okay. Never seen a Jew proselytize. This is new. All right, good. We're treading new ground here, at least for some people. So let's keep it going, guys. Let's keep it educational. And someone says, I'm an atheist, but Judaism speaks to me. All right, well, there's a lot of atheistical Jews who put their kids in religious schools. I think you don't have to be a genius to realize that living a life tempered by religious ethics is better than not, right? You don't have to be convinced of an idea to be able to make a judgment, an ethical judgment, if it does more good than not living by any standard. I think that's, what's my opinion? Oh my gosh, these stupid questions. On Matitza Bepe. So most people don't do it nowadays. Most moils don't do that practice. They'll use a syringe for it. But it was never meant to be perverted. Why do people get stuck on first stage thinking? Do I need to get cut? Depends. If you're not circumcised, then you do. Let's see. No religion is true. Okay, well, nowhere on my post here did I say that Judaism was true. I mean, I believe it's true, but I'm not going to judge you by what I happen to personally believe by faith. It's not that type of show. So you can't be Jewish. I guess you. What's that noise? Oh boy. Does the Talmud say that Jesus is boiling an excrement? It talks about someone named Yeshua Notzri. Some people debate that it's the original guy because he lives around maybe 250 years before Jesus. 200 years before Jesus. Soar Rotachat, I think that's what it says he's boiling in. But I don't think it's the same guy. For you know what deism is. I don't understand this. How do we know whether Jesus was a Muslim or Jewish? I don't know. Silly questions. Guys, where are the good questions at? Oh my gosh, don't make it difficult. So let's see. Abraham came to God. It's literally the origin of God. Bob. Okay. You're muted, by the way. Let's see. Someone with all organized religions. Welcome.
Hello.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Thank God. Good.
Okay, good. So you're saying that you can be Jewish. Judaism is better than any other religion. What you're pointing out?
Well,
now my question to you is, how do you feel about what the Jews did to the Muslims in Palestine? How do you feel about that?
This isn't political. This show isn't political. And first we have to ask what the Muslims did to the Jews in Palestine. Right? There were massacres even before the state of Israel was established. And so they've been fighting each other for a bit. It's not...
for at least a half a century. I mean, 50 years they've been doing it. I mean, it's...
Yeah, not 50, more than 50. I would say more than 70. Israel's been a state for over 70 years, and they've been fighting. So whoever wins. That's it. I mean, it's not a... I mean, I'm on the Israeli side, but not from a religious perspective. I just think that Palestinians really can't govern themselves. Every chance they get, they elect terrorists to speak in their behalf, right? And I'm pretty sure they don't speak really for in behalf of decent Palestinians. So what are you going to do? Let the person who loves the land more win.
True, but the thing is, blood is a little pricey for land. I mean, there should be better ways to do that.
Not throughout human history.
Yeah, but just the way they're treating the poor Palestinians, I don't think it's right to be doing that. And I agree with you in a sense, because the thing is, when you said whoever wins, because originally when the Jewish people went over to the Palestine and everything, they were welcome there. The Palestinians would go ahead and sell them their land, their homes, and everything. And then it got to a point where they just basically took over the whole thing.
What's interesting that you acknowledge that Palestinians sold them land. That means that they didn't steal the land.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they didn't. They sold it to them. Other countries didn't do that. I mean, other countries, they've done it, like, Afghanistan, they, sold some of their lands to the Tajik or gave it to them and everything. And then it got to a point where there's like a huge war between, the Northern Alliance and the Taliban and all that stuff.
Yeah. So that land wasn't owned by the Palestinians. It was given to them essentially, the British took it from the Ottomans.
Well, it belonged to them.
Right.
Yeah, the Ottoman.
Right.
Correct.
So the British took it from the Ottoman Empire, and then they partitioned the land. So then the Jews wanted to expand, so they purchased lands. But then, I don't want to make this about politics. I don't. Yeah.
Well,
I don't
my
justify
thing is,
the claim that with the Palestinians are in some way the victims here. I mean, I think although Israel is the more powerful the more powerful side, they're the victims of the Palestinians. The Palestinians are the victims of other Palestinians, not of Israelis. But that's it.
I mean,
Next topic.
with all the politics, no, with all this politics and everything going on, I 100% disagree with what the Jewish had done to the mosque over in Palestine.
Yeah, but this isn't about politics, man.
They're like, no, I know. But
okay.
The thing is, I mean, like the thing is, you're saying, okay, being Jewish, that's fine. I agree with that. It's
so
a
you're
good,
not Muslim.
What's that?
You're not Muslim.
No. What I'm saying to you is, let's just we're talking about it. We're not focusing on what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say to you is that.
Come on, guys. Come on, guys. Yeah, this show's not about politics at all. I mean, I could discuss politics. I support Israel from a secular perspective, not from a religious perspective. I would say that's the traditional Orthodox approach. The average Orthodox Jew is not a Zionist, right? He's, I mean, he supports Israel because it's a democracy. He enjoys the fact that there's a falafel shop and a synagogue in every corner. He's not going to say the prayer for the state of Israel. He's not going to say Hallel doing Yom Ha'atzmaut and on and on. But I mean, there's enough TikToks out there talking about politics. It's not, and then it's easier for me to win someone over to the Israeli side by getting them to embrace Judaism than it is trying to get him or her to think clearly, like on that issue, right? Because it's all emotion. I mean, people are either on the left. It's not a coincidence that people on the left, almost by definition, are pro-Palestine, and people who are Muslim, by definition, are pro-Palestine, right? And these aren't the most rational people in the world. That's it. I'm not saying that Jews themselves are any more rational, right? I mean, but from an outsider's perspective, the religious right typically always supports Israel, right? Unless you're a Muslim, because you have an agenda. Okay. Let's see. Oh, hello, Ariella. Hello, Layla. So, guys, keep it coming. Like and follow the show. The more you like the show, and if you follow this host, we'll get more interesting people up here. Hopefully, new people who don't want to talk about Israel, Palestine. Oh, God, what a boring topic. Okay, how can it bring me to better sanity? With Judaism? I don't know how crazy you are now, but to in some way answer the question that the person mentioned, how is Judaism better? This is really talking about if you're coming from Islam or Christianity. Okay, I'm not here to confront Zoroastrianism or Hinduism or people who still believe in the Book of the Dead or people who believe in Nordic religions. Okay, so I'm dealing with the vast majority of people in the world, not the small groups. I guess we could dialogue with that on a different show. So I believe it's better than Christianity and Islam, although that doesn't mean that Islam is bad, ethical Islam is bad, and ethical Christianity is bad. Right? I mean, by some fact, I'm calling it ethical. It means it can't be bad. I just think that Judaism is better. And I changed the title, right, or at least the order of the title, just because it's more of a shock. Well, I guess it's equally shocking, but it seems to be more of a shock to let people know that you could become Jewish. Yeah, because I think Israelis here or people who are pro-Israel have always had the attitude that their religion was better. I mean, there's some wackos out there who walk around saying like, no religion is better, and then they call themselves religious Jews, right? I don't even know what Torah they're reading, because it seems like in the Torah we're commanded to make fun of idolatry. Heck, we started martyrdom. The notion of being a martyr was started by Israelites. In the past, people didn't die in behalf of their God. Who's the first specific martyr? I would say was Shimshon, right? Shimshon, also Moshe Rabbeinu said, kill me before you kill them, right? This idea that you're going to die for a religious cause is something that Jews started. So why would you die for something that you didn't think was better? It doesn't even make sense. So people are asking, Judaism is better for who? Guys, if you have 1,000 followers, just hop on and let's dialogue. Because I could try to go through some of these questions. Isn't Judaism an ethno-religion? That is false. Judaism is not an ethno-religion. There's an ethnic component to the Jewish people, but that doesn't mean that the religious portion of the Jewish people has anything to do with blood or ethnicity. That's it. Now, Where does it in some way cross over? And this is a bit of a debate. If you happen to have a Jewish mother, this means that you're liable for the punishments of the court. That's it. But what laws is that court adjudicating you against? Torah law. Just because there has to be some sort of standard for you to judge people living in the land, especially if you're growing the inhabitants of the land via the nation's birth rate. So the rabbis decided, and it went back and forth, because I think even Rabbi Akiva said that it's not just by the mother. He said it's by Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, who said that it's only by the mother. But there's a statement in the Jerusalem Talmud, and Talmud Yerushalmi, that said it's only by the father. I don't think anyone went by that one. But that doesn't mean it's an ethno-religion, because you can be from a Jewish pedigree and not important to God in any way. Okay, hold on, we have a guest. From a rabbinic perspective, a legal perspective, if your mother's Jewish, you're Jewish. But that doesn't mean that you're in a covenant with God or you're part of the chosen people. All the perks of being Jewish, you only achieve those perks by committing yourself to Torah observance, entering a covenant with God. A covenant means that you're agreeing to keep this law. That's what makes you Jewish nowadays, right? Because when people say Jewish, they don't mean an ethnic Israelite. I mean, that's not what they're trying to say. They're trying to say, I'm a Jew, and I guess the Kabbalists have this notion that you have an obligation to love every Jew, which is stupid. It's not true. It sounds so bigoted. It's so bigoted just to hear someone say that you have an obligation to love someone because of DNA. Stupid. It's not.
Rabbi.
Yeah. I mean, remember that girl from, I think it was Friday.
From Friday night?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a new notion. There's many people, especially groups like Chabad, that think that means that you have to love every Jew. And it's guys, look this up in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and I'm not someone, and I never quote Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, but they quote this in the 29th chapter. It says, V'ahavta l'orecha kamocha. What does that mean? And then there, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says that it means that if the person keeps God's commandments, then you're commanded to love them. If not, you're not. I mean, it's always been this notion that you're not commanded or expected to love enemies of God just because they happen to have Jewish blood. This was a practice that was invented specifically by Chabad about 100 years ago, because Chabad invented Jewish outreach for born Jews. Jews never cared who your mother was if you didn't keep Torah. Right? When they never felt an obligation to reach out to you just because you happen to have Jewish blood. This is a new thing. For sure, it doesn't appear like this in the Talmud. It doesn't appear like this in Tanakh. But Kabbalah laid the framework for this. Right? I mean, Kabbalah clearly predates Chabad, but in terms of practice, I mean, Chabad started doing it. Like Lamaisa, they started actually, campaigns to go out and reach out to people because of who their mother happens to be.
I think it's from the Rebbe saying that, how all the students of Rabbi Akiva supposedly died because they didn't love each other. So now we have to have this unlimited love for each other, and that will bring the Mashiach.
That's interesting. I mean, I didn't know that he made that statement. Well, this is why, I mean, during the Sphira, now during the counting of the Omer, people have this minhag. I mean, it's a minhag. It doesn't appear like this in Halakha. Of not listening to music and not shaving during the counting of the Omer. There's no source for this. No source. I mean, it could be mentioned by a rabbi nowadays or a rabbi 200 years ago, but it doesn't appear in the Talmud like this, and it doesn't appear in Mishneh Torah like this. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not positive. I mean, if it appears in Shulchan Aruch, but if it does, it's got no makor. It's not coming from a Talmudic source, which means it doesn't become a real law. So it seems. Okay, so the medrash is that 25,000 of Rabbi Akiva's students died?
40,000.
How many?
40,000.
Okay. So the reason they give, or at least one of the reasons, is because they weren't giving each other kavod. They weren't honoring each other enough, which is a stupid reason, for God to kill 40,000 people. But nowhere in the Talmud does it say that we're supposed to mourn for 40,000 people who died. And supposedly there's other what's called girsiot, like versions of the Talmud that says that the reason they were killed was because, as you know, Rabbi Akiva was the person who announced that Bar Kokhba was Mashiach. So his students became the warriors or fighters of Bar Kokhba.
Yeah, that's what Professor Abramson says. I agree that makes a lot more sense, that the 40,000 were the students who joined the army and then they died in the battle against Romans. Then God just smote them for not respecting each other. That I think that was more like a hidden thing that they didn't want to announce too much so that they wouldn't be prosecuted or something like that.
Yeah, it's a shame how people walk around in Judaism, I mean, saying this like God unalived people because they didn't show each other honor. Also, there's a statement of the massacres of, was it Tak, in Europe, or was it that over 180,000 Jews were unalived, and it says there's many rabbis of the time. I don't know if it was the Taz or someone who said that the reason they were unalived, that God causes to happen, is because they were talking during the synagogues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's just those like, who am I? I mean, do I think I know more than this rabbi? You know, perhaps in this area I do, because this is, I mean, it's time to help Judaism save face, because there's too many Jews out there making Judaism look ridiculous. And it has nothing to do with oral law, you know, because the first knee-jerk reaction to anyone challenging anything a rabbi may say is like, oh, are you a Karaite? Are you a Reformed Jew? You don't believe in the oral law? Only because a rabbi says a certain statement and you don't believe it doesn't mean you don't believe in the oral law. Every statement uttered by a rabbi doesn't constitute oral law. If the Lubavitcher Rebbe said something, is not oral law. I guess if you're a Kabbalist, you believe that, because Kabbalists believe that even the words of the sichas of the Lubavitcher Rebbe were given in Har Sinai, right? I mean, they believe everything was given in Har Sinai. So I'm not even speaking about those people. But like the young lady who came on Friday and she's like, oh, well, you believe in Rashi, right? Like, and then she said it because you have to believe in the oral law. And I'm like, first of all, Rashi is not oral law. Rashi is a commentator, right? All the Meforshim are just there to Meforshim commentators, right? Guys who have like a perush on the Torah are there to explain the narrative in the Torah. They're not there to teach you how to keep Torah laws from a rabbinic perspective. We have halakha for that. Now, Rashi does help like that because Rashi wrote a whole, you know, I mean, he's a commentator to the Talmud. So he did give opinions on Talmudic law. But Rashi, the commentary of Rashi that's found in the Chumash has nothing to do with oral law. And by the simple fact that there's other commentaries that contradict Rashi, it means that you yourself could disagree with Rashi. Okay? I mean, he's got no monopoly on the final word of how we understand the Chumash, or all of Tanakh, because he wrote a commentary on all of Tanakh. So yeah, no, there's some things Rashi says that I'm all for, but Rashi, his commentary is built off of Midrashim. That's it. And his grandson, which is known as the Rashbam, said that, because I think Rashi, I don't know if it's in the Parshas Bereshis, but he says that his attempt here in the beginning of this commentary is to give a Peshat level understanding of the text. But anyone who's read Rashi knows that it's a midrashic commentary. He just brings, it's all midrashic. So his grandson, the Rashbam, said that his grandfather failed in his task. And he's going to fix what his grandfather messed up. So he wrote the most literal, or he wrote the commentary to the Torah that is the most connected to the Peshat level understanding, the plain meaning of the text. This is the Rashbam, everybody. Not a Sephardi. You're one of the Tosafists. And he says some controversial things there. As a matter of fact, there's some things, because some of his works have been translated into English. But ArtScroll, this is why I don't trust ArtScroll and Feldheim and all these Jewish publication houses, because they will intentionally leave out portions of the translations that they happen to disagree with. So there's a portion of the Rashbam where he says that according to the Peshat level of the Torah, The day actually begins when the sun comes up and not when the sun goes down. However, he says the halakha is still that we keep things, like holidays and whatever, like the zman, from when the sun goes down and not when the sun comes up. That means he was able to make that distinction that people can't make today. He also says in one of the two portions that command you to put on tefillin, the phylacteries, he says that this is clearly allegorical. Putting the law on your heart and between your eyes is symbolic, hyperbolic, poetic, all of the above. However, the halakha is still the halakha. The average person nowadays cannot walk and chew gum theologically. They think that if something's the halakha, it's because Moses did it. No, it's not true. Something's the halakha because the court at one time voted this into existence. Whether it was the court of Rabbi Akiva or the quote of Yehoshua ben Nun. All right, people don't understand that there's a progression in Jewish law, not Torah law. Torah law doesn't change. One other thing that I do with the show is I don't tell you what to believe, but I try to help people here think in a halachic manner, because the average Orthodox Jew has lost that. And this is why poskim, which to be a poskim is not a real thing, right? Because no one here has true like smicha, the authority. However, like poskim speak for their community. What makes them special is that they're able to make these distinctions. They're able to make the distinction between what's from the Torah, what's rabbinic, what's a minhag, and what's midas hasidus, right? And then give you a final ruling that applies to today on how you happen to keep a segment of Jewish law. But it'd be nice if we could get some Orthodox Jews up here who could, challenge me on this.
I have a question for you. What's your opinion on Tejalet?
I don't know. So according to the Rambam, okay, so for people who don't know what he's asking, so Tejalet is the blue string that people are supposed to have in their tzitzit. It's a Torah command. It says, you should have like a blue thread. So according to the Rambam, one way you know it's true or not is if it smears off on your clothes, which is, if anyone has ever bought like the Tejalet in the old city, like in one of the little bookstores, and then you walk around with the white shirt on, well, you'll notice that it does smear on your clothes. So that's one reason you know that it's false. There is what's called chilazon. Well, it's supposed to come from the chilazon, but no one really knows what that is. Some people say it's a snail. And I think it's been interpreted to be the cuttlefish is one interpretation, and the other one is I don't know. There's many rabbis I respect who are big on Tejalet, like Rabbi Herschel Schachter wears Tejalet. Rabbi Belsky also was big on Tejalet, and many religious, like Dati-Leumi, religious Zionists are big into it. I don't wear it because I don't want to pay extra, but I think it's a nice embellishment on the actual command, because the command is to wear blue, with the idea is that because we can't really agree what that blue is made of, that you're allowed to wear white. But that's not really what the Torah says. But that's the only logical conclusion. If you don't know, that doesn't mean that you don't wear tzitziot at all. It just means that you wear white. But I think it's nice to wear blue. Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I mean. Like, to me, it seems like if you're not putting it in there and just leave it in white, like you're not fulfilling it the way it's prescribed, right? But the opinion's always like, well, because we don't know for sure what blue it is, then we shouldn't do it. But to me, it feels like, kind of, it's better to wear the blue that you're not sure of than nothing at all, right?
Yeah. So there's the Ratzinger. Ratzinger, Rebbe, I think was the first one who made this a big deal. And then supposedly, I don't know. I've heard that his was disproven because he said that he found the dye. But so there's a dye in Israel that is actually purple, but when you leave it out in the sun, it turns blue. And that's the one that the vast majority of people use. What's it called? Some scientific name. I can't.
Interesting that you said that it's purple and then it turns blue, because I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the rolls of Tejalet that is found in the caves where the Bar Kokhba fighters were hiding out, and they're like color of the grape juice. They're purple.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So in the Chumash, I think it specifically says it has to resemble the sky. So I don't know. Maybe the sky was purple back then. You never know. But
maybe it's because they were freshly made and just stayed in the cave. They never saw the daylight, so they just got preserved that way.
Possibly. I have a video on it. I mean, I interviewed someone a few years ago. I guess if you type in Tejalet and Asher Meza on YouTube, you'll probably get it. But I think it's cool. You know, I don't wear a Tallest Katan at all. When someone's asking, no, I'm not Messianic. I mean, like someone is asking if I'm Messianic.
No, I mean from the Tallest Godo, from the actual one that you do for praying.
Right. But truth be told, I guess most people don't know this, that a Tallest Godo is also optional, right? It's there's no halacha that says, okay, tzitziot are only obligatory if you wear a four-cornered garment, right? I mean, most people know this, at least according to the oral law. So what Jews started doing was creating a four-cornered garment, because our clothes don't have four corners anymore, unless you wear kapata, and like Lubavitchers will go and get one of the edges rounded off so it wouldn't be like chayiv on tzitzis. So they invented first the talit gadol, any garment with four corners, and they added tassels to it. Then come a few years. A talit gadol is somewhat old because it says that the Sanhedrin had a special garment. The men of the Sanhedrin would wrap themselves in a tallis, some sort of beged, some sort of garment, like a special garment that they used for judging. But the Arizal invented the Tallest Katan because he said that your regular clothes, right, your regular beged is the tzitzit for your goof, like for your body, but this special garment that he essentially invented, that we call a Talitha Katan, which is what most people wear under their shirts, right? I mean, you see people walking down the street like with tassels hanging on. It's because they have this undershirt. So he says that that's the one for your soul, right? I mean, your soul needed one and your body needed another one. It's interesting that goof and nefesh in the Torah is basically was synonymous. But anyways, I mean, this is the Arizal. So that is where we got the practice of balchuvas, essentially. Well, not just balchuvas, I guess FFBs also, I guess, Haredim to wear a talit gadol. There's no obligation to wear, a talit katan. There's no obligation to wear talit katan. The only people who can invent barachot, which are blessings, right? They're like the Baruch Atah Hashem, is Chazal. Nowhere in the Talmud does it tell you what bracha you say over some made up. I mean, it's not a real garment, really, because there's no purpose in wearing it. I mean, some people say that a garment also has to be made of certain fabrics. Welcome, sweet Uncle Roy.
Yes. It's your sweet Uncle Rory.
Oh, Rory, I'm sorry.
My friend, the importance of not listening to false gods cannot be overstated, my friend.
Okay.
For they are but the mere figments of your imagination.
You have a great voice.
The creation of your fears and desires. Oh, they have been given from our own beliefs. Yes, your own hands, but they're just shadows that lurk in the corner of your mind.
Asher, just to let you know, this guy is a troll who goes to all the religious lives to do this. So you're just going to waste your time. He's here to troll you with...
just let him talk for just like 20 seconds more. I mean, he might get...
Not true, my friend. I just want to make sure you're not leading us down a path of darkness and despair.
Oh, so let's dialogue then. So let's cease having a monologue.
My friends, false gods are nothing but illusions, masquerading as divine beings in order to deceive us and lead us astray.
Let's talk about where we disagree.
Well, my friend, I think you're swayed by the siren song of these fake gods. But instead, let us
How
turn
can I
our
be your friend
hearts.
then?
Let us turn our hearts and our minds to the true source of our strength and inspiration. Science, my friend. Let us look.
All right. I get the
I
guys.
told you. He goes to Christian lives, Muslim lives, everywhere, and that's what he does. He thinks that this is somehow like smart or edgy.
Yeah. Well, with that voice, can you blame him?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when God has like a British accent, right? It's like for sure God has a British accent. You know, I never understood these like demonic possessions, right? Someone is now Jews don't believe in this stuff, or at least rational Jews don't believe in this stuff. But when someone's possessed by some sort of demon or something, especially in the Christian world, why does he talk like he just came out of I don't know, like The Last of Us, or like a monster? Right? If demons have been here from the beginning, I mean, you figure, I mean, they talk like, I don't know, I mean, they'd have like a smooth, like Luther Vandross or a nice British accent. I know, but they're always like, and they always mispronounce Hebrew too. Oh, the Shekinah or some crap like that.
Yeah, that's always the funny.
That alone, if anything, he should be able to speak Hebrew better than you, Aramaic as well, Spanish, English, all these other languages with a nice accent, right? With proper, I don't know, I mean, like you'll be like very medoctic, like not. I mean, he could teach us something, but it shows that all these demon possessions come from that person's imagination and from whatever. It's a shame that people fall for it.
You know, it's which group is that? I think trying to remember what they're called. The Christian group that speaks in tongues.
Well, that's the vast majority of, well, charismatic Christians, but they're Assemblies of God and Pentecostal.
Pentecostal, there you go. So I've heard somebody explaining that it's actually misinterpretation of the verse or something where it talks about speaking in tongues, and that's supposed to mean that if you're possessed by the Holy Ghost, that everybody will understand you in their own language, no matter what language they speak. So it'll be like you speak in universal language, not that you're just speaking some kind of gibberish that no one can understand.
Mm-hmm. So that's only according to the book of Acts. But Paul takes it a little further. Paul really, with a verse they use to justify the gibberish is that it's either the language of angels, or that has to be that there's no point in speaking in tongues if there isn't someone to interpret. But yes, I mean, he mentions that it's the language of angels. But in the book of Acts, during the time of Pentecost, where people from all the nations, I guess, Jews have an obligation to go to Jerusalem 3 times a year, it says that they were speaking in tongues that people understood from wherever country they were from. So yes, it was. I mean, they were in a small Japanese car. That means in one accord.
You lost your background.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Hello?
But yeah, the one thing that never made sense to me, like, why would angels need a special language that's different? Like, wouldn't they just speak whatever they need to speak to you?
Well, Jews believe weird things also. I mean, Jews believe that angels only have 1 foot. Right. This is why, I mean, during Kedusha, that when we say Kadosh, 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 Adonai Sevaot, we're supposed to put our feet together, and every time you say Kadosh, 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 your feet go up at the same time. And the Kabbalists teach that this is because angels have 1 foot. Right. Now, there's no halacha that says that you're supposed to like get on your tippy toes during that. Yeah, it's a minhag. And there's no halacha that says that you have to put your feet together when you say the Amidah. It's also a minhag. It's a Kabbalistic custom. There's no halacha. In the time of the Rambam, they didn't do it. All right, but most people don't know. They do it now, and they think that Moses did it. But I'm here to kind of be a wet blanket. Okay, Islamic. Please don't talk about Israel-Palestine. There's enough shows that do that, and my friend Hebrew Hammer has those shows on lock. So let's talk about religion, or like Islamic foods, or different grades of gasoline.
Islamic foods is halal and kosher. They're both equivalent. They're
no recipes. Recipes,
they're good.
Yeah, the
Your food
hummus
is
and everything.
just like ours. It's really, really good. If I'm gonna eat anybody's food, if there's no halal food available, I would jump to kosher food because they're very clean, just like ours.
Yeah.
And if you go back in history, Muslims and Jewish were cousins. Do you know that?
I
We're even closer.
Exactly.
If you look at what it says
I
specifically
know
in
he doesn't like
Genesis,
that. That's why he's leaning back. But it's the truth.
no,
no,
but you
I
know what it
disagree, by
says
the
in
way.
Genesis about Abraham, right? It says
Yeah.
that it refers to him as Abraham the Hebrew. So that means that everybody who descends from Abraham is a Hebrew. So basically, all the Arabs are Hebrews as well.
Yep.
Yeah, you could be a Hebrew and be an asshole. You know, so I
That's
think.
what's bothering you. See, the thing is, you got to know the truth, my friend. You got to really look back in history, and that's what's
Oh yeah, you
bothering you.
use the word truth. So
No, no,
cringy.
no. Every
You know,
time, like I just mentioned to you about how we're supposed to be cousins or brothers or whatever, and what do? You put your chair back. Your body language says it that you just have hate for Muslim people.
no,
I mean,
I love Muslims. No, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a
brother,
minute.
come on, come on, come on. Your body
Okay.
language, I
So
see
this is
it.
the first
You know?
time. This is the first time you've ever been on this show. I want Jews.
I know that.
Listen. I want
I'm listening. Go.
Jews who don't want to become Jewish, right, or practicing
Correct.
Jewish, and who don't want to
Yeah.
become Christian. I want them
Yeah.
to become ethical Muslims, okay, instead of being atheists. I
Yeah.
think Islam is an ethical force for good on this planet, okay, at least reasonable, moderate Islam.
Yeah.
I don't hate Muslims. I hate all undecent people on this planet. That whether you're Jewish,
Absolutely, I
Christian,
agree with
Muslim.
you. I 100%
Okay.
agree with
Now,
you.
well, the reason I lean back, and perhaps I don't know if that's a tell or not. I don't believe that Jews and Muslims are one, cousins, or two, worship the same God. Okay. So that's. I mean, I'll tell you how I feel. I mean, I'm not hiding any feelings. I mean, but there's things in
You
Islam.
don't have to. Your body tells me everything.
I,
Your body language, my man, tells me everything. But
I'm gonna
you
wear
got
a
to really
niqab
look
here
back.
next time,
I mean,
so you can. All you see is my eyes. Okay, trust me. I like Islamic culture.
not just your eyes, not your eyes. When you lean back, I can tell exactly.
Oh
The
no!
moment I mentioned that,
I
it just
like Islamic
back.
culture. Listen, I like Islamic culture. I like the fact that Islam is a very masculine religion, and the women are extremely feminine. I dig that.
Religion. No,
What?
no, we treat everybody equal. It's not a masculine religion.
No,
It's a
masculine
religion for
doesn't
all.
mean macho or like like misogynistic. I mean, just macho, like a manly religion, right?
No, we don't refer to that either. Just like
Come on, bro.
being
I'm referring to
Jewish.
it.
That's not,
Oh
well,
no. Okay.
that's not true.
Fine.
I
Get
mean,
to the
what you're
point,
saying
bro.
is
Get to the point.
absolutely okay. I'm just getting to the point. Is you got to look
All
back
right, so
at
we're
your
not
history.
cousins. All
Islam.
right. You're not my cousin, and we don't worship the same God. That being said, I mean, I still
which
think
God
that
do you
Islam is
worship?
a force for good.
Tell me if there's multiple gods. You believe in multiple gods? Is that what
No.
being Jewish is about? Okay, then we believe in one God. It's the same God. We believe in Moses, right?
You made it so clear. But
Yeah.
so if someone
So then
believes in one God,
why would you say
right?
we have
Wait, hold
separate
on,
gods? Why would you
Just
say
let me
that?
talk.
Okay.
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 So if someone believes in one God, does that automatically make it my same God?
It's one God. If you look back at religion, if you want to study back with,
but can you
it's
just answer
one
that
God.
question? If
It's
you
one
believe
God.
in one God,
There is not multiple gods.
I
This is
get
not
that.
Hinduism where you believe
Oh
in
my
the
God.
cow is a god or
Oh,
money
no.
is God or
Okay.
jewelry is God. You don't do that.
But let me explain it in a different way.
Okay.
If I believe in one God, right? But I believe a turtle is that one God. Just one turtle. Donatello from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's my God. It's just one God. I'm a strict monotheist. It's me and Donatello, right? You believe in one God, but you call him Allah, and you appropriate all the qualities that appear in my Bible. Fine. Is it the same God?
Absolutely not, because then that makes you not Jewish or Muslim.
So
it
you
makes you
could
a
believe
turtle
in one God
worshiper.
and be believing in the wrong God, correct?
Yeah, but see, the thing is, your title is Judaism, Jewish. What does it have to do with the turtle?
Coño. I mean, I know it's not too complicated, bro. I mean,
Coño, come on.
Yo soy Latino. Okay, listen. The reason I believe Muslims believe in it or worship a different God is because the way you worship the God of Israel, the only way you worship the God of Israel is by keeping his commandments. You believe that our Torah is corrupted. You appropriated our commandments, right? And Arabized them, rewrote them, and they appear in your Quran. There's things you do that we're not allowed to do. The way we know who we worship is what that God expects from us in terms of practice and service. This is why we serve two different gods, because our gods expect different things. How can they be the same God?
Well, you got to understand, your prophet, Prophet Musa, we call it Musa alayhi salam, but
Just
Moses.
respond to that.
Moses followed. Okay, hold on. Moses followed Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that's the way it has always been. If you look back in religion.
Wait.
What is your question?
Okay, I'm going to assume that the reason you're skipping the question is because you have no answer. But you're saying that Moses.
No. Repeat the question. Okay, go ahead. Repeat your question. I'm all yours. Go ahead.
Okay, fine. I mean, I'll do it not for your sake, but for the sake of everyone listening. And I'm not in a bad mood.
Okay, and deep breath.
I don't know. Fine. Okay.
No, you are in a bad mood because because you're talking to a Muslim and it just bothers.
No, I like Muslims, bro. I'm telling you, I like Muslims.
Then relax. Get to the point.
When I lived in what you call the West Bank, because I was a settler in Yehuda v'Shomron, I was pissed that I couldn't enter the Arab villages and hang out with Muslims. All right, because the Israeli soldiers wouldn't let anyone with an Israeli license plate drive in there. Okay, I like Muslims. Okay, I'd become Muslim if Islam made more sense. The culture is nice, the religion is silly. That's just, so I don't hate Muslims. But a simple fact that I could acknowledge that you could be ethical and a Muslim, and that Islam played a part in bringing ethics to this world, biblical ethics that you basically took from the Jewish Bible, right, means that I appreciate Islam. I just think that Judaism's better. However, that doesn't mean I have to just reiterate what the Quran says, that Jews and Muslims worship the same God, because we do not. The word worship, avodah, in Hebrew means to serve. The way we worship the God of Israel is by keeping his commandments. You and I have a different set of commandments, okay? So we can't be worshiping the same God. The way you know who you worship is what that God expects from you. That's fine. Your God has a lot of good ideas, and a lot of those ideas sound like the ideas that appear in my Torah, but I'm not going to say they're the same God just because you do. That can't be too advanced.
Okay, so my simple question.
Okay, just respond to that.
Okay, what is the name of your? No. What is the name of your God? You're saying there's two gods.
The name is.
What is the name?
It doesn't matter what the name is.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
Because it doesn't exist.
Fine.
That's why. It doesn't exist. You're just really talking something that's not even true. What is the name of the God? When you worship and say prayers, what do you do? Do you say prayers to the turtle, to the jewelry, to what?
Our God's name is the Yud Hey Vav Hey. There. For all the Orthodox people there, I didn't say Yud Ke Vav Ke, but I made a separation between the two. It's the four-letter name of God, known as the tetragrammatan to whatever academics out there. The word Allah, which is essentially comes from the word Eloah, just means God. It's not God's name in Judaism. Fine. Okay, but names don't mean anything. Right? I mean, well, you could date a girl named Jenny, and I could date a girl named Jenny, and it's not the same Jenny. Only because you claim it to be. I mean, whatever. For obvious reasons.
Okay.
My Jenny is better looking than your
Jenny. Explain to me what it means. I don't understand that. Well, you just said those names that you just said.
It's not complicated, bro. I'm just telling you. Why don't you just respond to any of my questions? Do you acknowledge that the way you know who you worship is by what that God expects from you? If my God expects something different, right? Even though the word, even El was a primitive Canaanite God, just because the word El means God in general. It's like saying G-O-D, but that doesn't mean it's the same God, right? As a matter of fact, your Moses is not my Moses because the stories are different. You see,
no, the fanatics went ahead and changed it, just like what they do with Islam. See, if you look at both religions, there is no such religion in this world that tells you to go kill somebody. You leave it in God's hands.
What are you talking about?
Okay, you're saying
Judaism tells you to do it. Islam tells you to do it. The only religion that doesn't tell you to do it is actually Christianity.
Teach you to go kill people. The only thing you do is self-defense, but it does not teach you to go kill people. Show me one passage that says go kill someone.
Where? In the Jewish Bible?
Yes, sir.
It says that he who sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. It says anyone who violates the Sabbath.
I didn't say self-defense. I said just to go out there and just kill innocent people.
Oh, innocent people. Ah.
Yes, that's where I'm getting at.
Okay,
If I'm going to come out here and attack you with a pocket knife, you have every right to shoot me. You have every right to kill me.
Okay.
But in Islam, it says that if I turn my back and I'm heading towards the door, you have no right to kill me.
Okay. So it's two different things, obviously. Self-defense. Now, why would a good God tell you to, in some way, out of nowhere, unalive people who are completely innocent? I get that. So what's your point?
You were saying that, there's a passage that tells you to go kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
The point that
there's
I'm trying
many
to make,
passages, but not innocent people.
Good. I'm glad we're on the same page. Now you go back to you're saying that my Moses no. But you're saying that my Moses and your Moses is different.
Right.
How is it different? So you're saying it's just different people, different messengers of God?
Islam had to appropriate something in order to carve a place for itself in this world. That means it had to delegitimize Christianity and Judaism by in some way trying to improve it, saying, well, Noah couldn't have gotten drunk because, for us, people of God are perfect, and that's how they appear in the Quran, and Muhammad in some way is painted as some sort of perfect individual. So this is how they're different. You took our characters and you Arabized them. You believe that Moses was a Muslim, David was a Muslim. My belief is that Moses was a Muslim as much as Muhammad was a Christian.
Well, the way it says is Moses was Jewish. Okay, our ancestors
say that either. But
hold on. Our ancestries were all Jewish at the time when Musa was here. Moses, you call it. And then after that, Christianity came. Jesus came. They were Christians. And then after that, at the end of that Bible, it stated on there that Muhammad, the prophet, is going to be coming, and you're going to be following him. You, our cousin, decided to stay Jewish. Our other cousins decided to stay Christians, and we decided to stay Muslim. But the thing is, what makes us any different? Nothing. We shouldn't even have hate towards each other. We should be respecting one another. Why is it that one is better than the other?
Wait. Come on. I mean, stick to one point at a time.
Hold on. My point is,
I have to be able to check you.
No, but what you're doing is you're downgrading your two cousins right there.
No.
I know it bothers you when I say that. I know it bothers you when I say that, but I tell you,
I'm going to have to kick you out again, man. I don't want to kick you out.
What does the truth bother you or what? You can kick me out.
It bothers me. Wait, hold on. Coño. It bothers me that you're not limiting your statements to one point at a time so I can check that. Okay? I have to be able to respond before you say things so matter-of-factly and you move on to the next point. So let's have a dialogue, okay? You still haven't responded to anything I said, right?
I've responded to everything. You just keep switching it.
Oh my gosh. All right. Thank you for stopping by. I gave him a chance.
Yeah, he was all over the place.
I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the world either, but just some people. It's just some people are just like freaking retarded. All right, go ahead. I guess. Okay. Yeah, fine.
Maybe he got a phone call or something.
Yeah, that's fine.
I disagree with you on that topic, by the way. I think that they do believe in the same God.
All right. And you know what? I welcome it. That's fine. But as long well, you know what? Like, being that we don't have any other challenge lined up, why do you think that your understanding is better?
I go based on what they interpret as their belief system. Okay. And based on that, they're following the same concept. So they believe that their faith originates from Abraham. They believe that they following the same prophets. They believe that we lost our way and that they had to get a next prophet to correct the way. I don't see anything wrong with that line of reasoning.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So then, do you think Catholics and Jews worship the same God?
I think that there's the idea is yes, but I think the Catholics have corrupted pretty badly what they believe in.
All right. So then I would disagree. So I'm consistent and you're consistent. Okay. Because Catholics also don't claim to follow Jewish law or keep the mitzvot, and that's the only way you worship the God of Israel. So they're worshiping God in a foreign way. That's what avodah zarah means. As I'm not saying, I know you know, but the average person doesn't know. Avodah zarah means foreign worship or foreign service. You're serving God in a way that He didn't prescribe. Anyone who says that the Torah has been done away with, or from the Islamic perspective has been corrupted, has ceased worshiping the same God that I worship, right? Because the only way we worship our God or serve our God is by keeping His commandments. So I could agree with you that the idea still points to the same figure, but they're worshiping their version of my God, which is essentially not the same God. They use it as a tactic, just like they use the term Muslim as a tactic, that anyone who in some way submitted to God is automatically Muslim. I mean, you have to really be a first grader to be fooled by that. Okay, this is why I said that Moses was a Muslim as much as Muhammad was a Christian. Because if you believe in Jesus as the Christ, that makes you a Christian. Muhammad believed in Jesus. So only because Muhammad believed in Jesus, that wouldn't make him a Christian, but it's the same logic. Only because Moses submitted himself to God wouldn't make him a Muslim who in some way awaited the coming of Muhammad. But I don't, I get how it's some sort of Jedi mind trick for like very primitive people, but I don't know why people keep on falling for it today.
No, but that doesn't mean that that's a different God, right?
Why not?
Why is it a different God? It's a different interpretation of God, but it's not a different God altogether.
Yeah. The only thing we know about God is how He's described to us in our Bible. That's all we know about Him. As a matter of fact, I say that I believe in God because of Torah. I don't believe in Torah because of God, right? If it wasn't for the Torah, I wouldn't know who the God of Israel was or how to validate Him as a good God. So being that the rendition is different of who this God is and what He expects for the world, how could He be the same God, right? It could be called, Eloah is where Allah comes from. Fine, it doesn't really matter. It could say whatever they want. If the way you please their God is not by keeping the mitzvot that He gave us, then it can't be the same God. So it's a very subtle point, and I get your point. I don't think you're completely wrong here, right? But it's used as a tactic from their end. Just like trying to share Abraham with us. Nowhere in the Torah, nowhere in Tanakh does it say or give us a hint that the children of Ishmael became the Muslims. So why should we grant them that opportunity? I mean, one, like blood mattered to begin with. Now, the truth be told, well, the average Jew acts like blood matters, unfortunately. So Muslims see the writing on the wall and they feel like, well, the easiest way to convert these Jews is by convincing them that we're their cousins. Come on, man. This is like, I don't give a crap if you're my cousin or not. If you're not a decent person, right? I mean, I'm not going to let you in my house. Right? And I'm not saying that Muslims can't be decent. But I think from God's perspective, the only way to be found righteous before God, i.e. worthy, is by keeping God's commandments. And if you don't do that, right, then you're not part of God's people, at least from a Jewish perspective. That's it. And this is why I think Christians worship a different God, Catholics worship a different God, while Messianic Jews, I believe, worship the same God.
I don't agree. I think that the worship is based on who you believe there's God to be. That's one thing. Two, I don't believe that there's more than one God in the universe. So from that perspective, I also don't believe that they worship a different God because I don't believe that there's other gods.
Yeah. So I don't think that the Trinity means that they're worshiping more than one God. Because every Christian, look, it's very important what people claim for themselves. If a Christian calls himself a monotheist and he says that he worships one God, but can't articulate it in such a sophisticated way, and he says, well, it's one God, but it's three in one, he's telling you it's still one God. It's still the God of Israel, but they believe it's some sort of complex unity. I understand that's primitive, okay? But that doesn't mean that it's three different gods. Okay, it's it's
But it
called the
is.
Trinity. I mean, they're trying to make some unity out of it, so it's still
No,
one
but
God.
this is how I say that it is three, because when I asked them a question, and I did this to multiple people, I asked them a question. If uh, if Jesus and the Father is one, right, then can Father save you? And they say, no, you need Jesus. So therefore, there's more than one God, right? It's just logic.
No. I mean, that's not logical, because from the outset, they told you that these three make up the one, right?
Also, they're all, but they don't say that they make up one. They say they're one. And that's part one. The other problem is Jesus being wholly human and wholly God. Those are two contradicting statements being in one. So there's contradictions all over the place.
Yeah, wait, hold on. There's contradictions in our religion as well. Okay.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with religious texts, don't strive for pure airtight reasoning. We do it all the time, and they clearly do it in this instance. They're trying to make sense out of their principle of sola scriptura. Their Bible says it, and they don't know what to do with it. They're honest enough not to cut it out. Like, I mean, I believe this is what Islam did. I mean, it tore off anything that didn't make sense and left a book that I mean, still has probably more contradictions in the New Testament and the Tanakh. But fine, so they're trying to make sense of their Bible. And I'm pretty sure that they wish really that the notion of the Trinity wasn't there, and it's not really there. I guess 1 John 5:7, but that's only in like newer variants. So they're just being honest with the text. The average Christian doesn't believe in the Trinity because he's convinced because of logic, but he's just trying to pay lip service to actually what appears in his Bible. So they're trying the best they could to balance the two out, right? Because they know it's important. They know that they don't worship multiple gods. However, the notion of the Messiah has been over-embellished in Christianity like it has in Judaism. I mean, the reason Christians do it is because Jews did it. Christianity is an offshoot of Judaism. And by this simple fact, I don't view it as three separate gods because it was never logical to begin with, right? They were just interpreting what their Bible says. And have you ever heard Rebbes talk, or like Kabbalists talk, how they think that God is in them specifically, or like how Chabad teaches that every Jew is a piece of God,
Yeah, but those guys were influenced by Christianity. Like, you know that Hasidism is heavily influenced by Christianity.
Correct. Yeah, but you wouldn't say that they worship more than one God, but you would just say that they're confused. So why don't you give Christians that same courtesy?
Yeah.
Why don't you give Christians that same courtesy? And just
I do. I don't deny that Christians worship the same God. I just say that they're confused about how they worship him.
Oh, that's a different thing. All right. So that I can accept. But to say that the average Christian worships three gods, I don't, like Jews believe like in Zayd on Pin and like all these different Jews have more. I'm not saying you clearly, but most people don't know that there's this notion called the Sefirot. And there's something called Partsufim, and there's something called, the Atzilut. They're dividing God into segments. And they'll say that it's just emanations, this and that. That's how they say it nowadays. This is not what the Kabbalists actually believed, right? They believed that there was God in the Partsufim. There was God the Father, God the Mother, and God the Son. There was a female aspect of God. There was God the penis and God the vagina. I'm not making this up. And when they would have sex with themselves in the heavenly bodies, well, this is how the world turned. I don't believe in this crap, but I'm telling you, our people believe the stupidest things also. We're dealing with religion here, and everyone's trying to make the best with what they have. The problem that in this case, I'm giving more credit to the Christian than to the Kabbalists, because Kabbalists just invented this crap. I mean, Christians had to deal with their text, right? And there aren't too many books on Christianity that are in some way developing new ideas. Outside of Paul, it seems like Paul did enough inventing for all Christians, and this is why we have all these denominations fighting. So they don't want to create new things. But Kabbalists, they're still inventing, right? So, yeah, I mean, I try to use equal scales here.
Now, you don't have to convince me with Kabbalists. Kabbalists, I think, is the worst out of the whole bunch. They keep inventing new things, and the amount of new laws that were added because of the Kabbalism to Judaism is just ridiculous. I think that's the biggest problem, is all these new, that they claim that they are halacha also.
Yeah, I don't care if they believe that, okay? If it makes them better people, fine. What I don't like them doing, like I don't like Christians doing, is telling people that God's not happy with you if you're not convinced of this new book or this new ideology or philosophy, right? I mean, there's different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, to me, the biggest thing is this carrot and the stick approach, right, to the religion. You have to believe my way or you're going to hell, and then if you're a good boy, you're going to heaven. To me, that's not a God I would ever follow. I don't know how somebody could follow that.
Right. So I'm sure you would acknowledge that Jews believe that just as much as Christians do, right?
The Kabbalistic Jews do, right?
No, Haredim in general. I mean, why do you think?
Yeah, they're influenced by Kabbalists now. The difference between Misnagdim and Kabbalists nowadays is like non-existent. They believe same stuff.
Right. I mean, since like Shlomo Karbach, I mean, he sort of brought all the Litvaks over. But yeah, it seems like everything they do on this planet is to cash checks in heaven. It's that's a scared of hell, unfortunately. But on this show, we hold truth as a value. So I'm not whitewashing anything. So with all this, warts and all, I believe that Judaism is still better. So if that doesn't speak freaking wonders for our religion, now the only group we're not really bashing as much is Islam, because I'm not so familiar with exactly what appears in Islam. But
I like Islam. I prefer it to Christianity. I mean, of course, I agree that Judaism is better, but when you're putting on a scale Christianity versus Islam, I think that Islam is much more appropriate way to get closer to God, because they do keep commandments, even if they're not all the same. They do actually do work. Where in Christianity, it's basically ambiguous as what it means to be a good person.
That's actually a good point. In terms of practice, I agree that Islam, I think it's better. In terms of theology, on how they actually view God, I think Christianity is better. In terms of, clearly modesty, Islam is on top. And Islam took that from Judaism. Jews used to wear hijabs. And notions of being chaste. I mean, I've seen Christians do the weirdest things, like under the notions that we're all like sons and daughters of Christ. It's okay, we can hug. It's okay, we could kiss. Before you know it, you got babies. Anyways, it's true.
It's the approach. That's what I care about, right? It's you need to do the work. You need to actually have the common understanding as a society of what's right and what's wrong. And I think that's missing in Christianity.
All right. Yeah. All right. You see? I mean, we could agree on stuff.
See, there you go. I convinced you.
No, I'm not convinced. I mean, I still think that Christianity, in terms of theology, is better. I think Islam is better in practice. Combine the two, and I think like you're able to describe me. I think King David is both someone who had a very like soft heart to God, but was very, like a very physical person. So Jews nowadays are kind of too physical. I mean, Jews are more like, not like Muslims, because most Jews aren't very masculine, unfortunately, and they're not very caring. But have you seen these videos on TikTok of like the guy spitting at the Christians?
Yeah, I saw it, but that's Haredi. What do you expect? They do same thing to Jews. It's like if a Jewish Israeli or not Israeli, if an American tourist, like a high school student, for example, right? Like they do on these trips. Like my daughter's gonna go, and she's gonna walk through like the streets in Jerusalem. Sorry, 1 second.
As a Hund. Что такое, товарищ?
I know my daughter came home and the dog was barking. I had to open the door.
Привет.
So I was saying, so if let's say that she was in Jerusalem walking on the tour, right, and wearing like a regular clothes, like Americans wear,
It was her
you don't
underwear.
think that they would be spitting on her in the same way? That would be exactly same situation.
Yes. Well, not in Jerusalem, like just Stam, but in Mea Sharim for sure, and in Gola. Like the parts outside of Jerusalem where like the real ultra Tallest Haran and Satmar live.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like people post these TikToks thinking that all these they're bad to Christian or they're bad to Muslim. No, they're bad to everybody. Those guys, they hate everybody who's not them.
Okay, so truth be told, they weren't spitting on the Christians. It looks like it. This is an old practice, but most people don't know this. But I spent some time like in the Hasidic community, even though people are looking at me like this. You got Bad Bunny here teaching Judaism. So it's actually a minhag that during Aleinu, you're supposed to spit. The only people who do this are like ultra, Haredim. Before you say Ve'anachnu korim, right? Like before you bow, right before that, you're supposed to spit on the ground. The practice is not to spit at the person. What's done nowadays is that they'll say pui or pui, but they don't spit at the person. They're supposed to spit at the ground, and now it's done figuratively. So it looks like the guy was spitting on it, but he was spitting at the ground. Why? Because the understanding is that Christianity is idolatry, and whenever you pass like a base of Avodah Zarah, I believe Christianity is idolatry. I don't believe Messianic Judaism is idolatry, but the practice is not a halacha. The practice was, it appears like this in the Gemara, that there was a practice of spitting on the ground in front of the statue of what's his name, of Julius Caesar, and also of Marculus, which is Mercury, like the statue of Mercury, like in amongst the Romans. But then the rabbi said, perhaps you shouldn't do it because there'll be a backlash. So that's where the practice of actually not spitting came from. But it's not a halacha. And the person wasn't spitting on the cross or on the girl, but they were just going pui. And it's silly, okay? But if you're convinced that it's truly okay, I have to.
I disagree with you, Rabbi. What they're doing is Hilul Hashem. They try.
I'm just telling you that there's a source for it. That's all I'm saying.
Of course, but even if there's a source for it, not everything that has a source should be done, right? There's things that they're just bad. No matter even if they believe that God told them to do it, it's still bad, and they shouldn't do it.
No, I agree with you. I'm just telling you that there's a source. My job as a rabbi here is to link you with some source in the Gemara to tell you what the halacha is. I clearly wouldn't do that for sure. It's for darchei noam, like for encouraging peace, you for sure don't want to do stuff like that. However, there's something that they're failing to miss. Almost every rabbi will acknowledge that the avodah zarah we have nowadays is different from the avodah zarah from back then, and they have to acknowledge that. Christianity, even though it's a form of avodah zarah, of idolatry, it is not the same idolatry that appeared in Torah times. It's a religion that is an offshoot of Judaism. How could it be? But by the literal term, it's avodah zarah, meaning it's just foreign to the way we do things, but it's still claimed to, they still elevate our Bible. So that's the argument I would make with them. Because the way I convince Orthodox Jews is not by yelling at them, it's just with sources. But it's hard to disagree with someone who has a rabbi and he's like, well, it's my minhag to do this. Like it's Satmar's minhag to spit. Okay, they spit in synagogues. This is what they do.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, I'm gonna go quiet for a little bit, so you guys talk.
Okay. Right.
Okay. I need help with identifying the direct origin of the Metzitza Bipa.
Metzitza B'peh, right. So, all right. This is not done nowadays in the vast majority of cases. the practice appears in Jewish law. It's not sexual in nature. For people who don't know what we're talking about, Metzitza B'Peh is after a baby is circumcised, in order to coagulate the blood, what the rabbis would do, they would, it's like I'm describing.
Can I explain it?
No, you can't explain. For sure, you can't explain it.
No, I can explain it actually, but I will let you if you want to. It seemed like you're kind of ashamed of it.
No, I'm not ashamed of it. I mean, I'm thinking of the Dalai Lama, and I'm trying to put it in a way that
say it like it is. Say it exactly how it is, bluntly.
All right, so then it's not sexual in nature at all. It's there to coagulate the blood so the baby doesn't bleed to death. And they actually add cumin on it afterwards to seal the wound. Just because in 8 days after birth, I mean, you're basically cutting a baby open, right? And the goal is to keep the baby healthy. After knowledge of infections, the rabbis started using a syringe to do the same thing. No, you didn't
say what they do, though. You just skipped over it. What do they do? What is it?
Well, they put their mouth on the wound, and they suck on that little part of the wound. That's it. They don't do that. And, hold on. No, all right. So now, all right. You see, this is why. I mean, you don't really want to learn. They don't do that anymore. This is what appears to help the baby. I mean, back then, Judaism, this has nothing to do with Torah law. This is rabbinic law. The Torah tells you to circumcise. How it's actually done was developed by the court. So any type of medical advice that's superseded by safer practices is what should occur. And this is what occurs in the vast majority of Orthodox synagogues. They use a syringe instead of doing that. Okay, that's it.
What's going on, y'all?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going? So I think the average rabbi...
Oh, I am back. Sorry. What did I miss?
But I'm trying to... There's nothing sexual in nature in it. Nothing. I mean, to assume that rabbis care to do that and they make fun of it when we've been doing it. As a matter of fact, we believe that if Jesus did exist, this was done to Jesus also. And if Jesus was some sort of rabbi who was circumcising other people, he did it also, and I'm pretty sure that Muhammad probably did the same thing too, if he was emulating what the Jews were doing. So the reason that I may stammer before I say it is because I know that it sounds cringy in this modern day age. And people, like I said, in more modern style Judaism, like modern Orthodoxy, don't do it. That's it.
Now I see what you're talking about. I missed that. I guess somebody came and asked that question.
Yeah, no, we were talking about Metzitza B'Peh.
Yeah, I know. It's something that people always come to ask about. It's always the same kind of person who asks about it, too.
Yeah. I think I gave a good answer, right? I mean, it's the only answer. I mean, it's not like I'm making stuff up, but it's just...
Yeah, I think you did well.
You're dealing with people who are not searching for truth. Okay, I mean, they're trying to assume that by definition, rabbis are perverts, which is why it's part of a ritual. It's stupid.
There's two questions that specific type of people always ask. They ask about this quote out of the Talmud about the goyim being. Two questions always asked, always by same type of person, always for a specific reason, is to try to make Jews look bad. That's it.
Yeah, but they don't even read their own Bible.
I know.
The way, like men would greet each other by grabbing their testicles. I mean, this is what it says. Like, put your hand under my thigh and swear to me.
Yeah, to swear. Right? Yeah.
I mean, guys, well, let's grow up. Trust me. I mean, I'm like the least homophobic person out there. Whatever. It's so silly.
Yeah, Christians saying what? Like you read Genesis. That's how Eliezer was swearing to Abraham when he went to get the wife for Isaac. That's in the Bible.
So someone is saying, like, why did I say that Muhammad PBUH did it though? Well, because Muhammad appropriated everything, including circumcision. So why wouldn't he? You're telling me the Muslims were circumcised differently than the Jews were? This is part of Jewish law, meaning that the rabbis, the Torah never told you how to circumcise, what to circumcise, right? What you're going to circumcise your finger. I mean, it doesn't tell you what like the orla is. It doesn't say anything. The rabbis had to step in, i.e. the judges, the men in the Sanhedrin, establish standards for this. Now, medical advice progressed throughout the ages. And any type of medical advice that appears in the Talmud is superseded by better medical advice. And you don't need a Sanhedrin for that. So I guess this notion is too sophisticated. I'm telling you, like, this show makes you feel like I'm pretty smart, because the average person who comes on here is kind of a dummy, unfortunately. I mean, I don't want to lose faith in humanity, but damn. Here you go. Babies died from herpes behind. Okay, clearly, and this is why the practice, for the most part, was stopped. That's it. Trust me.
It's only what's done by a specific group. It's not like everyone does this.
Right, no,
most groups don't do it, yeah. Oh, used to, yeah, a long time ago.
Used to do it. Yeah. Most doctors are Jewish. Jews are disproportionately represented in the medical world. Okay. The last thing they're going to endorse is Jews in the name of Judaism getting people sick. Okay.
We're supposed to do that's the, it goes against the rules, right? You can't hurt somebody to keep the mitzvah.
Yeah.
Pikuach nefesh, right? It takes precedence over everything.
Yeah. I mean, except 3 things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. I mean, I respect people who are looking for truth, but in your search for truth, by definition, you're going to make your side look bad sometimes. Okay. And when I hear someone honestly say, yeah, that's what the Quran says. Yeah, that's what Muhammad did. I'm not so happy about it, but that's what it says. However, I remain a Muslim because the bulk of it works. And I don't know where the Arabs would be today. I'll tell you where they'd be today. I mean, they'd be worshiping the moon and the stars if it wasn't for Christianity, giving birth to Islam, right? So I'm happy that they're Muslim. I don't want them to be pagans, unethical pagans. By definition, to be a pagan back then meant that you were unethical. But they don't see it like that. They're like, it's primitive. Look at you guys. Well, by the simple fact that Christianity knows anything, it's because Christianity arose out of rabbinic Judaism. No rabbinic Judaism, no Christianity. No rabbinic Judaism, no Quran. People don't understand that. You can't function religiously without some sort of oral understanding of what the Torah is trying to say. 100%. Now, I'm not saying that this oral understanding was given on Mount Sinai. I believe the Torah itself, this is not just me, the rabbis teach that the command to listen to judges, what we call the Sanhedrin, the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah, they had many different names. This appears at least 3 places in the Torah.
Christianity is older than rabbinic Judaism? That's just silly.
So the argument that this person is trying to articulate here is that it's true that the first reference made to rabbinic Judaism in literary form was the New Testament.
Yeah, but Sanhedrin is rabbinic, right? So what's the difference?
Yeah, right. No, if anything, this shows that rabbinic Judaism is older because the New Testament makes reference to rabbinic Judaism.
Exactly.
So,
like Sanhedrin is the rabbinic Judaism. Like we always had Sanhedrin.
No, but it also said that Jesus practiced rabbinic laws.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the rabbinic Judaism is from the time of Moses, right? When he put together the first Sanhedrin, right? That's when rabbinic Judaism started.
Yeah. So people have a problem with the word rabbi. So if they don't like the word rabbi, use the word judge. Shofet. It's probably more appropriate. The word rabbi wasn't really used as a formal title, as a pronoun like that until the time of Jesus. All right. Okay. So let's see. So what's a good word, Vanilla Gorilla?
What's a good word?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just relaxing right now. I like listening to y'all.
Yeah. So I sort of creep in people's podcasts or like their lives, and I don't go on there because I'm curious what they say about me. And there's some people who talk a lot of crap when I'm not around. They say the nastiest things, but they never come up here and challenge me. But they're able to go on other people's, and it's a shame. I'm so accessible that if someone wanted to put me in my place as a fake rabbi or whatever they want to accuse me of, I'm here.
Who's accusing you of being a fake rabbi?
Well, they accuse me of everything, you know.
Oh
Yeah,
Vanilla. This goes on even in chat here every time he's on. That's like the most common thing. It's ridiculously funny.
Because I don't care if people call me
I
rabbi.
get the.
I mean, I have smicha, but it doesn't matter to me. I want people to respect me for what I know, and that I'm willing to debate any rabbi. And I've debated more rabbis than anyone alive, at least on social media, and more Christians than any Jew alive, at least on social media. I debated more Muslim, and it's all on YouTube. It's all on YouTube.
Do they just don't like your message, or?
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And it makes absolutely no sense that religious Jews would come on here and say, how dare I say that Judaism is better than any other religion? You have to be a dummy to make such a claim like that. They're proud to be Jewish. And if you would hear how the average Jew talks about Christians and Muslims when no one's around, you know that they believe they're better. But for some reason, they think that it helps them, I don't know, politically, to say that that Islam is as equally ethically viable, right? If you're not offering your religion to other people, then you're saying they're not worthy of entering your religion. So
yeah,
if you're telling them that, you know what, I want you to walk into my synagogue, you know, because I know that you believe I'm plotting taking over the world here, right? All the protocols of Elder Zion, like of Zion stuff. Come listen, there's, you know, become one of us, right?
Yeah.
That we'll hire you. We'll share your wealth.
I get it
my house
all the time too in my life. So like, you know, I'll read the New Testament for what it says, where, you know, Jesus and the New Testament writers are saying that the end is coming in their lifetime, right? Jesus told his disciples that the end would come, you know, within their generation. And they, you know, oh no, you're a heretic. That's lies. You know, false this and false that. It's like, well, that's what it says. I mean, you say you believe the words of Jesus, but you actually do not. So,
no, I mean, I think that gives them a little bit of, you know, I'm clearly not a Christian, you know, but by the simple fact that Christianity has left verses like that in the New Testament gives credibility to Christians, because they could have just taken it out. But it says that this generation shall not pass away till you see the Son of Man coming in the clouds. Whatever that means. Hey, I mean, there's things in the Torah that contradict itself, and I acknowledge there's a contradiction. What are you going to do? I mean, I'm not here I'm not in a gang here. I'm not...
well, you know, like Revelation says these are things which must soon take place, for the time is near. But,
but
they'll say soon is not soon, and the time is not near, like 2,000 years ago. So,
but they could say that a day to us is like, that a day to God is like 1,000 years to us, which the Torah doesn't say, by the way, but the book of Psalms says.
Right. So it says, you know, and that's in 2 Peter. And so what it says, a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day.
Uh-huh.
So it just means time is irrelevant to God. It's not man's time. Like if this is a message from God, right? If Revelation is a message from God, right, it'd be applicable to those people, especially when it says these are things which must soon take place.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't believe that statement is from God anyways, that 1,000 years to us, but 1,000 years to us is like a day to God. I mean, that's just a statement that originated in the book of Psalms, but it's a fallible statement. I mean, who knows how God tells time?
But didn't it also say somewhere there that Jesus was telling them that, you know, these things will happen in your generation?
Yeah, he says that in Matthew 23, Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13. In Matthew chapter 16, he tells them that when he comes to reward each man according to their works, that some of them that are standing there in front of him would not die until that happens.
Yeah, and I think also says that like the kingdom of God will be in their generation or something like that, right?
It basically just says all these things will happen, which all these things are like the nation against nation, kingdom against kingdom, the famines, the false prophets, the antichrist, all this stuff that they speak of when they say it's the end times. He says all those things would happen before their generation passes away.
Yeah.
You're drawing the anti-missionaries now.
And so,
Rabbi, how are you now? Shalom
Here we go. Alechem shalom.
I appreciate you letting me in. Been a while.
All right, what's the good word, bro? What's the good word?
The good word is always good, man. I mean, it's we're working towards that golden era. We're getting there. Baruch Hashem.
Where do you live? Like, what state?
Virginia.
Oh, I think we spoke about this. We're in Virginia.
You used to be in Richmond.
Yeah, I used to live in Richmond.
Right up there, but I'm in like central Virginia, but I'm below like Petersburg area.
Oh, interesting. I worked as an assistant chaplain, I helped the chaplain out at Petersburg, like federal prison. Like we'd go for the high holidays to do services for the Jewish inmates there.
Oh yeah, it's they have 2 federal prisons off of River Road in Hopewell.
Yeah, that's it. River Road, I remember that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool though that you did that. So.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. So let's see. Can somebody join? Let's see, guys. In order to join, we need to have 1,000 followers. For people who don't know, and they're asking.
I think it's 800 in Europe. It's only 1,000 for US.
Oh, look at that. They're trying to limit Americans on here. All right. Let's see.
Yeah.
We don't learn.
Did you hear? I know we're not doing politics, but did you hear about all the leaks from Pentagon that were happening over the last few months? They were blaming TikTok for all the spying or whatever, but there was some guy on Discord who's like 21-year-old guy who was working in Pentagon, and he was just doing it for clout. He was trying to tell people how cool he is on some like Minecraft server, and he was just dumping like battle plans for battles in Ukraine, the lists of like foreign spies all over the world from CIA, all kind of stuff, just dumping on Discord, and it was being spread everywhere.
Wow. On a Minecraft Discord at that, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
Just, they're talking about the security risk of TikTok. Like, check your security risk in Pentagon, who you letting run your IT departments.
So somebody posted that God is outside of time. I'm actually not convinced of that idea, by the way. And it seems that it's a very recent notion. I think post E equals MC squared, post Einstein. The notion that God is outside of space and time. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm not saying that I'm convinced of it, because people teach this like it's a principle. Like, it's interesting. Nowhere in the Torah does God tell us to in some way present him as omniscient, as omnipotent, as outside of space and time. All these embellishments really were created by Aristotle, and it was the Muslims who essentially made the ancient Greek philosophers popular again, adopted by Aquinas and Maimonides, and now we think that's the only way to present God, as some sort of Superman, when no one ever uses the term ethical. It says in the book of Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 16, it says that it says the holy God is made holy through righteousness.
I think I'm actually always been confused from logical sense about the concept of God being outside of time, because outside of time, but yet once the creation happened, creation has time, right? The universe has time.
Right.
So that means that there's always exists the time before creation, the time of creation, and time after creation, right? So therefore, wouldn't that put God into time?
Yeah, for sure. No, when people make these statements, they're just poking holes in other arguments that just bring in more dissent. It's better to say we don't know. We don't know. But we watch so much sci-fi and we apply this to God. Say, all we know is that God is good, and that's what makes God God. This is why, I was quoting Isaiah chapter 5, verse 16, that says, the holy God is made holy through righteousness. The reason, if you define holy as important, right? Holy really just means like set apart. What makes him important to us is that he's good. The holy God is made holy through righteousness by doing the right thing. And this in some way answers your question from last time, because you said that if God says something by definition is good, here it's saying that no, there's a standard of good that exists even outside of God. And the reason he's holy, this could be like holy to us, is because he keeps that standard. So that's how we're supposed to present God to the world. The thing is, because of affluence and boredom, which is essentially what all ethical monotheists deal with nowadays, because Islam is so similar to Christianity and Christianity is so similar to Judaism, that we need something to disagree on, right? Unfortunately, that we disagree on trivial notions. Like, you believe that there is a complex unity, God has some sort of partner, you're evil, and I wish that you would disappear, right? On something so stupid, something so small, right? Nobody, the average person doesn't walk around thinking it's okay to unalive people and to like mistreat women, right? In some sort of sexual manner. So let's unite and get along on what we do accept from our belief systems, like, instead of something so stupid. And it's a shame that. Yeah,
Rabbi,
go ahead.
if I can interject, I apologize.
No problem.
Isn't there a belief that God created all miracles, or Hashem created all miracles before it happened? Like he laid them out before the Torah happened. Isn't that a belief?
So it's not a belief in the Torah, but Jews believe that. So like, I don't believe that God knows the future, by the way, because I don't think that God knows or can do the illogical. God can make a square circle, and God can't know what's going to happen if it never really happened. But people have a problem saying that God can't do something. This is why we're familiar with this famous statement, can God make a rock too big that he can't lift, right? These stupid arguments, like who cares? Just say that we don't know. So to say that, well, first of all, if God knows what you're going to do before you're going to do it, then you don't have free will. And people understand that that's some sort of fallacy. So they'll say, no. And because God doesn't exist within space and time, he in some way knew that you were going to do it, but decided not to know. And it's so confusing. It's better to say that he doesn't know.
But doesn't Rambam reconcile that?
So the Rambam in his commentary to the Mishnah, in the statement where it says that everything is under heaven but the fear of heaven, he says that God doesn't know if someone does teshuvah. All God knows is what's called kohota teva, which are the forces of nature. God knows if it's going to rain or if an earthquake's going to happen or something like this. But regarding the heart of man doing the right thing, according to Maimonides in this statement, and the Rambam also contradicts himself.
No,
according to this statement, the Rambam agrees with me in areas that matter. It doesn't bother me if God knows if an earthquake's going to happen. It does bother me that God is in some way going to punish me with foreknowledge that I was going to do that sin. It just doesn't make any sense ethically.
No, that's not what I meant, though. I'm talking about, I think maybe it's in commentary to Pirkei Avot, or if I'm thinking where he says that, that God be knowing the future and knowing what you're going to do doesn't stop the free will. And the way he explains it is like, if a person is observing you walking down the road and there's a hole in the road, and by observing you, I know that you could either jump over the hole or you could like stumble and fall. That doesn't preclude you from having free will to decide whether you're going to jump over the hole or not, right? But I know all the outcomes. So that's the same concept, that God knowing the outcome doesn't prevent you from exercising free will.
Yeah. So I'm not familiar with that argument from the Rambam. I've heard the argument made by Jews like that. And it just seems more complicated than to say, here, look, for sure, the rabbis back then, the rabbis in the Talmud, felt that God didn't know the future. For sure, they didn't know, right? Also, they all believed in 6 days of creation, right? Because the average rabbi, Orthodox Jew nowadays does not. I mean, he'll teach, no, it's not 6 days. It was 6 billion years, right? This is Gerald Schroeder and all the, like, Natan Sifkin. And these are great teachers, you know, but this is nuance. We have to understand that this is a new way of thinking. The rabbis back then, the rabbis in the Talmud and the authors of the Bible believed the earth was flat, right? I don't believe the earth is flat, okay? But we have to call things what they are. They believed the earth was flat. They were human. I mean, they nobody died and came back, you know, so who's to know, you know? So we have to call things as they are and not paint a different rendition of God other than what appears in the Bible, because then what you're basically doing is worshiping a different God. This is why I have no issue assuming that God could become a man if he wanted to and appear to people in human form, because this is what he did in the Jewish Bible. There's statements that there's someone talking to someone, and then a few verses later, well, you find out it was God. Right? I know what Maimonides says there, that it's not really, I mean, it happened in a dream. I get it, but I'm just saying, according to the literal message, it's there. I mean, for some reason,
I agree with Rambam there. I don't believe that talks about real physical events.
I agree with the Rambam also. However, it's hard for me to believe that God is going to punish someone who takes it literally.
Yeah, of course. That I don't disagree with. If somebody wants to take it literally, that's their prerogative.
Right.
Rabbi, what about the theory in Judaism that we have a spark in our soul, that our soul is a spark to return to Hashem in our death, that in fact that Hashem lies within everything. This probably comes from the Zohar more than anything, but he lies in everything. There's a spark of some sort of life, and as we pass away, and you know, we can go into reincarnation, but I probably don't think that's appropriate for the viewers that you're going for, but that's a little bit too deep. But what about that God is within us, that it's not we're God, but God is within us, the spark of creation, of life, of what Hashem created?
No, I got it. Yeah, this is what Chabad teaches. I mean, this is the core of the Tanya. Like bundled in with the Netzitzot, with the Arizal. But so the Arizal, I mean, his rendition of, I don't know, I guess this is probably too advanced for most people listening, but there's this notion called Simsum. So Simsum is the idea that God contracted himself before creation. I don't believe in any of this stuff, by the way. I'm just telling you what Kabbalists believe. And this is made famous by like the Radak, which is Rabbi Moshe Cordovero, and the Arizal, which is Rabbi Isaac Luria. But they have different renditions of this Simsum, that God contracted himself and poured himself into some sort of vessels, that the sparks fell into these vessels, but then these vessels couldn't contain it all, so they broke. And the job of Jews nowadays is to perform what's called, right? The bulk of what Jews teach nowadays, with even Kabbalat Shabbat in Eshet Hayil, all this stuff is not what it seems. It's a Kabbalistic illusion, meaning that people think when they hear the word Tikkun Olam, which means to repair the world, that this means social action. That's not what it means when it was first coined in Judaism. Tikkun Olam means the task that every Jew has to gather the sparks, in Hebrew netzitzot, that broke away, that fell out of these vessels. And some people took it to an unethical perspective, people like Shabtai Tzvi, who said that you actually have to do evil in order to gather some of these sparks. This is why he would do unethical acts. Fine. And then the Tanya got a hold of the Arizal, and that's where the statement I made before of Helek Elokam Imal Mamish, that teaches that every Jew is a Helek Mamash of Hashem, like an actual physical piece of God. And anyone who converts to Judaism is part of these sparks that are coming back, which is kind of a twisted idea. I mean, it sounds sweet in the beginning, but if you really think about it, it's saying that the only reason someone would come to Judaism to say they want to convert, it's because they were Jewish all along. Yes. Like, meaning that the Torah is not powerful enough to draw you to
Yeah, I always hated that. I always disliked that concept, that it basically means like you're you don't have free will, because the only reason you come is because you already had that soul, and that's why you're coming back. Like that, you don't have free will to choose for yourself.
Yeah. So it makes some people feel special because now you're separating the world between Jew and everybody else. But it makes it hard for people to convert because they're saying, well, it doesn't really matter how hard how mean I treat you. Like if you're really Jewish, like you'll put up with it, but it's not. I mean, the average person doesn't want to get mistreated when he comes to convert.
But I think
they convert. Who is being mistreated when they convert?
It's good luck converting to Judaism. You're going to be mistreated very, very heavily.
In the vast majority of cases, I would say, here, look, I converted, and clearly, I know that I have a very disagreeable personality. Not by nature. I mean, I only speak when I have something to say, but when I disagree with something, I disagree with it. So people mistreat me because they feel that the average convert should kind of know very little and should kind of know where he came from. Like meaning that what?
Rabbi, come on.
Yeah.
That's not true. Once you come out the mikvah, you come out the. Come on, man.
No, I'm talking about before, though. The before.
No, even after. Okay.
So yeah, people to this day look at the comments every day on Rabbi Asher's comments. People will tell him that he's a fake Jew and all that kind of stuff. Like people mistreat converts all the time. Come on, let's be realistic. It's a sin and it shouldn't be done, but it happens all the time.
He converted Orthodox to Judaism. He is a Jew. He is not any different than
obviously
me that was born Jewish. That's not no. I don't accept that.
Okay, hold on. Wait, hold on. But are you born Jewish?
Yes.
But did you grow up around Jews?
My mother is Jewish, but she converted to Catholicism.
Okay, but did you grow up around Jews?
Yeah, there was a lot of Judaism in my life. Yeah.
You grew up around religious Jews?
No, they're like like.
All right, I don't think you could speak in this area. Okay, I'm telling you because I deal with converts. For some reason, people come to me, and apart from the converts that I make, okay, I mean, I've dealt with counseling people, and I tell people where to go to convert in Israel, like what yeshiva to learn in to convert. Right. If you don't speak out, okay, if you go with the flow, then people, many Sephardim won't even marry converts, by the way. Most Sephardim, and I'm not even talking about with Syrians. I mean, Syrians won't even accept converts in general. It doesn't matter who converts you, the Syrian community won't accept you as a convert because they have the stupid minhag, created 125 years ago, of not accepting any convert. But even among regular Sephardim typically never want to marry converts. Ashkenazim, because they're more westernized, they're more open-minded. I'm not saying that all Sephardim are like this, but the more primitive ones are very much like this. There was a time that the Spanish Portuguese also didn't accept converts. They're going against the Torah and they're going against halakha.
Yeah, that is against it.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Okay, and I'll tell you, as much as people dislike Rabbi Mizrahi and Yaron Reuven and Rabbi Wallerstein and all this stuff, they won't publicly attack them because they'll be like, I have some obligation to love every Jew, blah, 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 blah. But they won't extend that to me or any other convert who's outspoken, because they're like, oh, you should know where you came from. I'm just telling you because I get the attacks. People have called like my rebbeim in Israel and say like, you endorse this guy. They've really, I don't care. The more they push, I'm built for this. Trust me. I'm like a thug for Hashem.
I live in the community all my life. I'm Orthodox. I live in the big community, and I have two friends who basically gave up on converting. Like they tried to convert and they gave up just because of how they were treated. So it's pretty tough to convert.
Yeah.
They expect you when you converting. They expect you to be already basically like Haredi by the time you convert. right? The expectations for a convert is so much higher than for a regular Jew. Like, I can go to Chabad and do nothing, and they will treat me like I'm next to Mashiach. But somebody who wants to convert, he has to be like holy like a Rebbe in order to convert. That's the basic understanding.
Not like Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons. Like, our religion is closed off to the true believers. I mean, that's the whole point of it. I don't discourage people from converting to Judaism if that's what they feel, in their soul. I encourage that, but if you're just kind of like, oh, that seems cool, and then you kind of back out, that's what the whole purpose of kind of what's the word I'm thinking of? Kind of, I don't want to say interrogation, but it's vetting. You're vetting people.
All right, hold on. Here, look, I don't want to sound rude, but it's obvious whether you didn't grow up around Orthodox people. I mean, just by the way you speak, right? I'm just telling you. I mean, it's clear that you don't know what you're talking about. Okay. I know that you're trying to defend the religion, but we don't do Judaism a favor or the state of Israel a favor or Jews a favor by lying. Okay? You're lying. I'm saying that we're lying. Right? So there's a lot of improvement that... Man, hold on. I mean, I have to kick you off because there's too much background noise. Oh, well, it wasn't in you. Who was it? Oh, it's Reuven. Oh,
sorry.
I kicked the guy. Well, regardless, I mean, his mic wasn't so good. But we don't do any favors here lying to people about anything. All this being said, I mean, I still want people to convert to Judaism, okay? For many different reasons.
Good evening. How's everyone?
Oh, good.
I'm not lying about anything, Rabbi.
No, I said we're not lying. We're not lying. I know you're not lying, okay? But we don't do anyone a favor by us lying, because there's many times I've hopped... Okay, most Jews on TikTok don't know anything about Judaism. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the average person who has a TikTok live about Israel and Palestine. They don't know anything about Judaism. You have people in Israel speaking in behalf of Judaism to Muslims and Christians, saying they're Orthodox, which is not true. I mean, you can tell if someone's Orthodox or not, okay? In terms of how they speak. I don't care about, how they look. And they'll whitewash Judaism to win arguments. I don't do that, right? And I think this is why people like my life, because they know that if something's good, I'll say it's good. If it's bad, I'll say it's bad. It doesn't matter if it's within my people or not within my people, okay? And I could still make the argument every time that it's better to be Jewish than to be Christian or Muslim. Okay, so I don't need to lie to make my point. I don't think the average person knows enough about Judaism to articulate it in such a fashion, so they feel they have to lie. But the average person on TikTok who's Jewish knows nothing about Judaism. Nothing. I mean, it's nothing. It's. I crept onto a live yesterday, but that's how I know they were talking bad about me. Because I didn't go in. Because if you don't double click, it doesn't say that whatever, like Rabbi Asher's listening. And they were talking crap about me, and it was some Israeli guy who enters my lives but never goes live with me, right? Saying that I don't know what I'm talking about, this and that I'm immoral. I guess, like I'm like mutilating squirrels here. And he claims to be Orthodox, and then he's like, yeah, of course I'm Orthodox. I had a bar mitzvah and everything. I mean, everybody knows Orthodox Jews don't talk like that. A bar mitzvah, I mean, who's it's whatever. It sounds...
Yeah, I don't know.
Those who know, all right? But it's just like Judaism, unfortunately, because it's not complex. In terms of what you have to do, it's quite simple. But what Judaism has become, for you to get a grasp of Judaism, there's a lot of, not so much studying, but experience that you have to go through to be able to articulate it properly, right? My advantage, I mean, apart from like learning in yeshiva, which really didn't teach me anything, was living in Israel for 5 years, okay? Living in Jerusalem and in the Shtachim, because I lived in Kohav Shachar and like other like settlements for like many years, and I would live and breathe Torah, okay? Because I mean, that's, if you're in a religious community, whether it's Jerusalem, the old city, anywhere, you're living and breathing Torah. Every Shabbos table that you're sitting, I mean, you're talking to, I mean, forget about rabbis. I mean, who's a rabbi in Israel? I mean, rabbis aren't respected in Israel, right? Because the average person walking down Jerusalem who doesn't have the title rabbi knows more than the person who has the title rabbi in America. I mean, this is just the way it is. These are high caliber people, who know Torah in and out, and you spend enough time with them, it's going to rub off. And that's my strength here, that I've lived in the Jewish world for 25 years, and I'm able to sound Jewish to someone who's Jewish. I mean, anyone who, grew up from, not looking at me, of course, that will think that I grew up from, right? And they're like, yeah, he sounds like he's from the, I don't know, from the Yiddish belt, from the Yiddish gas. But anyways, guys.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, new topic. All right, so the
I
world.
didn't grow up from. I didn't grow up from, and I never had a bar mitzvah.
It's weird to have a bar mitzvah after your 13th birthday. Only Reform people do that.
Yeah, that's reformist stuff. 30 years old, have a bar mitzvah. Come on.
What? But you want a bar mitzvah?
No, I'm saying like when you're 30 years old and you convert and have a bar mitzvah, that's definitely a reformer kind of thing. It's not normal.
Yeah, well, now they give dogs a bar mitzvah. It's called a bark mitzvah.
The reformers do?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they do it officially, but there's something called the bark mitzvah. Just look it up online. They sell little keepers for your dogs. Yeah, it's called the bark mitzvah. I'm not making this up.
Dude, stop it, Rabbi. That's
all right. So the world needs Jesus. Go ahead. I'm not making a statement. That's the guy's.
So what I was about to say is, I don't know if to say Judaism is better because Christianity is an extension of Judaism, and what it is that you guys stop at Malachi, which is the last book of the Old Testament, and we pretty much reveal the New Testament as well as the Old Testament. And see, the thing of it is, when we say that Jesus is the Son of God, it doesn't just come from Christianity. It also comes from you guys' book in Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 5. It also comes from
No, it doesn't.
That's
a lie.
Read Proverbs chapter 30 and verse 5 then if you don't believe me.
What is his name? What is his son's name? If you read that straight through, it's clearly not talking about God. It said like who fashioned the world or stretched out the heavens. Tell me what his name is and tell me what his son's name is. That's
what is his name then?
Huh?
That's who stretched out the heavens.
No, that's not the question. It's saying who other than God did that. And if someone did do it other than God, tell me who he is. Tell me who he is and tell me who his son's name is. It's not telling you to tell me what God's name is. That's how you read it. I don't know. This guy.
Okay, well, we read it a little different then. We read
it's like someone saying,
a question, what is his name and what is his son's name? Is who he that gathers the water in his fist. I'm thinking the only one that can do that is God.
Right. And the author knows that, right? So he's saying, he's talking to someone who's a dissenter, saying like, what do you mean? God didn't do that. So then you're saying, really? So tell me who did and tell me what his son's name is.
That's the way you believe it then, right?
So then as long as you acknowledge that it could be read a different way, I'm sure you acknowledge that a good God wouldn't judge people to hell for taking down.
I don't believe God judged people to hell. I believe a person that makes the decision not to spend eternity with God is already just God just honoring their request. If they don't want to be have anything to do with God while they're on this earth, then why would they want anything to do with God in eternity?
Oh, all right. Yeah, but that wouldn't exclude Muslims and Jews then, right? Because we do want to have a relationship with God. You're talking about atheists.
Well, who's that? Whoever. I don't put a broad brush on it because it could be whoever.
Not whoever. You specifically said.
What we were saying is that the reason we also believe that we also believe the Old Testament as well as the New Testament, and therefore when God talks about and when Christian talks about being born again, we also find that in Jeremiah, I think it is, where God said he want to put a new heart in them, a heart of flesh and not a heart of stone, and he want to put his spirit in them.
Okay.
And so that's what it means to be born again, with a change of heart and mind.
Yeah, and I'm all for that.
And so therefore, I don't see it as better. I just see it as an extension of it.
Yeah, well, you do believe that if someone's not Christian, they're going to hell. And it's better to go to heaven.
We only believe there is one God.
Right. But we have to be honest.
God revealed himself. That's
but we have to be we have to be honest when that you have to be honest that when you're reading this stuff out of the prophecies and it's not clearly stating that the names and events and things like that, that you're reading into it something that's not clearly written there. So therefore, only thing you have
We're
is,
seeing it come to
hold on,
fruition.
let me finish, please. Let me finish, please. So what you're doing is it's called shooting an arrow and then drawing target around it. Like you adding interpretation to something there because you already believe that it exists. So now, because you already know that Jesus is and filled the prophecies, now you go back into the old text and finding evidence for your belief. You could do this
No,
literally
I
with any
believe
book,
Jesus
right? You could
is
find
the.
Jesus in Harry Potter if you wanted, because you
No,
already
what
know
I'm
that you're
saying
looking
is
for him.
this here's the difference though. I don't just believe Jesus because of the Old Testament or even the New Testament. Most of my years I've spent trying to disprove that there was a God. It wasn't until He revealed Himself unto me that my heart and my mind was changed. That's how I became to believe what I believe. It doesn't.
Yeah, but that
It's
we
not
can't
about what
argue,
man said.
obviously. We
It's
can't
about
discuss that segment of
what.
it.
Huh?
That we can't argue. Personal experience.
And
The only one.
that's what I find it was the most common thing that was in with the people in the Old Testament. They experienced God for themselves. This is why they was willing to do what they did and to travel and do things that they was able to do because they believed it.
All right.
But
And
those
if you
people were
don't have a
prophets. What are you
relationship
claiming
with
that you're a
God,
prophet?
then I believe he's as distant and you're just following a religion. That's when I believe because the God that we serve, if he's all knowing and all creative, he should be able to have intervention with his subjects.
You don't understand that God Hashem has gotten further and further away from us since the Garden of Eden. He was there with us, walking
But
with us.
yes,
Now he's gone,
we
as we are
we
acting,
believe
he's
that,
gone further
and
and
because
further
of
and
the sin
further.
that Adam
He is
created,
further away from us now because we didn't
yeah,
follow
because
him.
of the sin that
We follow
Adam fell when
the
he
way
fell,
he
yes, he was distant from us, but we also believe that he made a way back.
I
That is
don't
what
believe
we
that
believe.
we're getting more and more distant. I actually don't follow that. That's a Kabbalistic notion. I don't agree with that. But at the
Well,
same
we can
time,
all agree to
when you're saying
disagree on
that
it.
people were talking to God and seeing God, those were prophets. Those were a little different kind of people. So I mean, you have
They were
to.
still
What you're
people.
talking about is long. I'm saying what you're talking about in personal experience. Every person has those personal experiences. Like I can name you 50 different ones in my life. It doesn't mean that they
No,
make something evidence or not evidence. Those are personal anecdotes. That's all it is. You can
yes, but
find, like I said, if you believe, you can find evidence for your belief in anything. But that's not, that's not how you want to hold the discussion about something, right? You want to, if you want to argue the scripture, you have to argue scripture based on what it says, not on what you believe it says.
Wait, just let me leave a message for
I'm
everybody here, guys. Like the show, follow the host. Like the show, follow the host.
got you.
Like. Okay. The more you like it, the more people get on. So like. All right, go ahead.
And that's where
My thing is that people don't understand that. I mean, God can't get distance from you. There was an old Jewish parable that talked about on Yom Kippur. There was, they were there. They were, I say starving, but fasting, and there was, a man was handing out snuff to, kind of keep you awake, kind of keep, it's like tobacco to kind of keep you going. And there was a guy in the back, and he considered him a schlepper, a schlepper, right? And he
What are you
said, "Well, I'm
talking
not going
about,
to
bro?
walk out there and give him that because he can't get up and do it." And God Himself, Hashem, slammed the book closed on that man because he would not go back there and just do it the simple thing as to help another brother Jew out and give him some snuff. That's the way of the world. That's God. That's Hashem. It's not all
You gotta
peaceful. It's not
share.
all
The
flowers
puff
and
puff pass. Don't just hog it all
I
up.
don't believe it
yeah.
all
I mean,
peace and
exactly. I
everything,
mean,
but
give the man a
what
puff.
we
I
are
mean, he's
told
still
as
there
Christians.
in the
Now I
shul.
know there's some that
He's
really
there
get
in the
off the
shul.
track, but it's to love thy neighbor as thy love thyself.
No
And that
problem.
is a hard commandment that we was given, and I can't believe that it's an easy task to do that because we by nature is selfish anyway. And this is what happened when we say that we are as Christian. Now I see a lot of them out there that they're just using it for a platform to elevate themselves or elevate. But what I'm saying is this: when you have an experience with God, you will never be the same. It changes you.
Amen. I mean, I don't disagree with that, by the way.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, I just think it's so devotional and personal that you really can't share with anyone and convince them on that. You have to use logic and reason on this show because we're not Christian.
I know, but he said, "If thou shalt seek me with all thy heart, thou shalt find me." Also,
Yeah. What does that mean? I mean, what does it mean to us? Like, where do we
what does
differ?
it mean? Are we really seeking Him? Are we really looking for Him?
Yeah, but you're preaching now. I mean,
I'm just asking a question. That's what.
What's the question?
Are we really doing those things?
I mean, we like who?
What are you doing?
As in humans being, period.
Probably not.
No, but what do you mean? What do you mean doing? Like, what do you mean by doing? Doing what? What do you want us to do?
I'm asking, are we really seeking to ask God to make Himself revealed unto us? Do we do those things? Do we ask?
Ask for what?
Father, then why can't we go to Him as a father?
What do you mean by that? Like, to me, doing means like taking actions. I mean, like keeping commandments.
Exactly.
I can't, guys. I'm clearing up the room a little bit. Okay, just because I see that we're losing viewers. We have to keep it going, and it's just we can't get stuck on ruts. I mean, some people, I get it, but they use this platform as practice. Like right before, because it's Sunday tomorrow, so they're like, I have to give a sermon. I have cold feet, so I'm going to go on Rabbi Asher Meza's live and just start preaching there. We're here to learn, okay? I'm sure Reuven will convert to radical Islam tomorrow if he was convinced it was true. Right, Reuven? Yeah?
Of course. I would move to Dagestan and start training with Habib and all that stuff.
Oh, that's it. Well, you have the beard, Well, I mean, can you have a beard in your seat?
Yeah, of course.
No, you could braid it up. Whatever. Fine. Yeah. In Islam, it's actually not allowed. It's not allowed. Technically, I don't think it's a halakha, but I know it's understood that you're not supposed to hit another Jew. But whatever you're training, so
but it's sport, right? You're not hitting him with hate, right? You're doing it for sport, so that's not a problem.
That's the reasoning behind it, but the way it's typically taught, because the rabbis argue if a doctor is allowed to operate on his father, because you're drawing blood, so it shows that logic wasn't there. So it shows. I get it, but I'm trying to teach it how it appears. So I know there's many Muslims who teach that a Muslim is not allowed to like hit another Muslim. So they have an issue with that. I'm sure there's some reasoning around it. But yeah. Anyways, sure.
Yeah, but with boxing, wrestling, all that stuff, it's fun. You're just doing it for sport. You're not doing it because you want to.
In Israel, I guess most people don't know that for 5 years I was a boxer in Israel, and I would travel all over Israel, like fighting. I mean, I fought as a sparring partner because I'm a big guy for a Jewish guy, right? I mean, most Jews, I guess, aren't as tall as I am, and I'm a heavyweight. So I trained with what's his name, Ron Nahash. He's a famous Israeli boxer, and I would fight with Russians in Tel Aviv because they needed a guy who was big enough, like for them to fight. Most Israelis are small. So, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for violence, So, but I'm just telling you what the typical understanding is. There's this guy, I think he still does it. Like in Jerusalem, a guy who's like Temani, who teaches Jewish martial arts.
I saw his videos. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. He made up like a whole thing where you make like letters, like Aleph with your body and all that.
That's yeah. What's his name? He's called the Bahir. What's his name? Something Bahir. And I mean, there's some rabbis I know who like trained under him, but supposedly he made this up. He said
but I don't think that's it's in any way practical. I think it's all like, you know.
The Alufa beer. His name is Alufa beer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the name of this fighting style also. So he, of course, I believe it's made up. He was from Jamaica. I mean, a Jewish guy, and his family, I guess, is Yemenite. But when he made Aliyah, I believe he made Aliyah from Jamaica. And he said that the Yemenites had the ancient fighting style of the temple guards, whatever. And then there's videos online. And like you said, he goes like Aleph, Bet, and all this fighting stuff. And I mean, he had he had like 100 people there in Jerusalem training this style of Kung Fu, I don't know, I guess, whatever.
Yeah. People in the 70s, 80s, 90s were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Now, after MMA exposed all this stuff, nobody does it anymore because everyone understands that it's, it's all for movies, but it looks cool.
I saw the first UFC. I mean, UFC 1. I saw it in 1990. I remember I was with my cousin and like his friend was watching it, and I saw Hoist Gracie for the first time. Ken Shamrock, and like all the early guys, and I saw Hoist Gracie choke everybody out. I was like, what the heck is this? And I did, like BJJ in Israel, like they call it free fight, like in Jerusalem, like for a few years in Teddy Stadium, like on the first floor of Teddy Stadium where like Beitar Yerushalayim plays, there was like a jiu-jitsu place. And because of Hoist Gracie, and then I stopped doing that, and I just went to become a traditional boxer because I realized you can't use that in the street, right? I mean, where you're choking somebody out, I mean, someone's going to come and like drop a chair on you.
Yeah, but that's what the firearms are for.
Right. Also, I did that also. I mean, I did Krav Maga, which is not a real fighting style. It's done alongside another fighting style, like taking guns away and knives away and stuff like that. But I mean, someone says no such thing in Israel. What does that mean? Hold on.
It's just the typical Free Palestine stuff.
Okay. Yeah, no, but Israel, like my friend, there's videos of me online training with my friend. His name is Sharir Richmond, and he has a school, like an MMA school, in Jerusalem, and he's actually the son of Rabbi Chaim Richmond. Like, if you guys ever heard of the Temple Institute. And when I was in Israel for Sukkot, I made a video with him, like advertising his school. Like, it's in my list of videos. And I mean, I went a little bit with some Russian guy. All the fighters in Israel are Russian. Okay, I mean, Israelis are kind of weak. I'm just telling you, all the best fighters in the IDF are Ethiopian or Russian, because Russian fight.
I said, of course.
Yeah. Why do you think Crack Square is called Crack Square? Well, so Crack Square is called Kikar Tzion. It's on Ben Yehuda, like off of like Rehov Yafo, and it's called Crack Square because that's where all the Russians get drunk and they just start beating everybody up on Ben Yehuda, and they start cracking people's heads.
Israel never even did a single thing to place in any sport in Olympics until Russians started immigrating to Israel. Like, they needed all the Russians to start even doing good at anything.
Israel won, I don't know if it was the gold for sailing, maybe like 8 years ago.
But all of the people are Russian in the team, probably, right?
Oh, I don't know. But also, like recently for jiu-jitsu, what was it? Judo, I think. It was judo?
Judo, yeah. But that would be all the mountain states.
It was the famous video that after like the Israeli won, like he went to go shake the hand of like the Arab, and the Arab wouldn't shake his hand. Remember that?
Good evening, Rabbi. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Okay, I want to ask one question. So, is it true that the Jewish people and the Muslim are allowed to pray in the same place, or like praying in the same building, praying together?
Okay. So, I don't like using the word true in areas that are subjective. according to one rabbi named Maimonides, also known as the Rambam, he was of the opinion that Jews are allowed to pray in a mosque. Not that a Jew would ever pray in a mosque, but he believed because his understanding was that Islam wasn't idolatry. The consensus was that Islam was idolatry till Maimonides said it wasn't. And what made him famous was that the Jews of Yemen were being persecuted, Jews of that whole region, by the Almohads. And the Almohads practiced a form of Islam that believed that you had to convert to Islam or be unalived. So Jews were allowing themselves to be unalived and instead of converting to Islam. Why? Because the consensus was that Islam was idolatry. So the Rambam in some way justified it that it wasn't, so Jews wouldn't have to give their life up. And then he was of the opinion that because it's not idolatry, a mosque wouldn't be what's called the base of Avodah Zarah, like a house of idolatry. So technically a Jew could pray in there, not that he would pray the Islamic prayers, that he would pray his own prayers alongside Muslims. So is it true? It's true that most Jews believe it. Is it a fact? Well, being that there was no Islam in the time of the Talmud, which is where we get our laws from, right? Apart from what literally appears in the Torah, that means the ruling is not in yet on whether Islam is idolatry or not, or Christianity is idolatry or not officially, because we don't have a Sanhedrin. So the answer is yes and no.
How is the Judean religion define idolatry or pagan worship?
So it's interesting. In the Torah, the word we use for idolatry doesn't appear in the Torah. Idolatry in the Torah, I guess it's avodat elilim, which means the worship of God or foreign gods. Idolatry in Judaism, post the rabbinical, establishment, is avodah zarah, which just means weird worship or strange worship, or worship that's not sanctioned by God. So that could include anything that God didn't prescribe on how to serve him is idolatry from that perspective. But from a Torah perspective, it's really the worshiping of foreign gods, and obviously avodat pesilim, which would be the worship of statues, which would by definition be a foreign god. So, I mean, I wish I could give you more concise answers, but I have to cover all bases, and then people are going to be like, like I'm lying to you because, someone's going to say that I forgot about that, or I forgot about this. So I'm covering everything.
Rabbi, just I don't know, you might not know this part of history, but you know how in Soviet Union, the Soviet Union was anti-religion, right?
Right.
And especially like during Stalin's time, religious people were prosecuted very heavily, sent to gulags and everything.
Well, more Christians than Jews. I mean, Christians.
Yeah, correct. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
So the Muslims actually were not prosecuted because they were kind of that area of Soviet Union didn't have as strong control as the other areas of the communist. One, and two, they were afraid of uprisings, so they didn't push that in the Muslim regions of Soviet Union. So there was a huge thing during World War II when Jews were evacuating from Nazis. In Samarkand, there were a huge Jewish community in Uzbekistan. And Chabad especially was like mostly evacuated there. So for a long period of time, the Jews in Samarkand would go into the mosques and pray there, including Chabad Jews, because that was the only place where they could safely pray. So it was happening pretty consistently.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay. All right. Fine. What do you hear? I mean, in places like that, it was probably extremely cold and, whatever. I guess it's safer for them to, well, you're saying because they couldn't pray publicly. It wasn't so dangerous. It wasn't dangerous at all to be Jewish in the Soviet Union.
Oh, it was.
Actually, I'm sorry?
I said for religiously was. Not religiously, no. But religiously, yes.
Yeah, well, Jews actually had synagogues that weren't destroyed. But
yeah,
they were seen more like cultural places.
So I'll give you an example. Sorry, I'm from Kiev, Ukraine, right? There was a synagogue in Kiev, always was there. The rabbi of that synagogue, until the fall of Soviet Union, was a KGB agent, and he was placed in there specifically to find people who were truly practicing religiously, so they could be kept track of, and if they were found to be trying to like teach and do anything outside of just showing up to pray, then they would be arrested and prosecuted. And the charge would be nationalism. So they would be charged as the nationalist, meaning that they were propagating the ethnic unity, because the only thing you could be in Soviet Union is the Soviet. You could not have any ethnicity. Right, so this is the charge that they would do. So, and this was a pretty common thing, right?
So Lenin, hold on. Yeah. Well, so Lenin in the Constitution, I believe, made anti-Semitism a capital crime in the Soviet Union, at least on paper.
Mm-hmm.
That they were the only protected minority, mainly because Jews were so overly represented in the leadership of at least the early days of the Soviet Union, when Trotsky was there, and like all the
you said that.
Right. Well, there was like the secret police, the Izvestia, no?
It's like a Jewish section, right? Jewish sector. Yev from Yevrei, and Sekta is like sector. So Sekta is the Jewish police, but their job was to find religious Jews and prosecute them. That's what they were created for.
So they're the ones who tortured the Lubavitcher Rebbe.
Mm-hmm.
And so this notion that the average Jew nowadays walks around thinking they have more in common with atheists than they do with Christians. I mean, Jews were the biggest, secular atheistical Jews have always been the worst enemy to the Jews. Worse than the Gentiles.
Yep.
But whatever. This is why. Better a religious Christian than a secular Jew. 7 laws. Come on, guys. 7 laws belongs in the Bronze Age. See, I could acknowledge that it's a thing and still think it's silly. It actually appears twice in the Talmud that God abolished the laws of Noah. I have a video called "The Noahide Movement is a Scam." I guess you could Google it, YouTube it. And in that video, I give the source in the Talmud where it says that God abolished the Noahide laws because no one was keeping them. Just for anyone who walks around thinking that, it's a given that if a Gentile keeps the 7 laws of Noah, he gets a place in the world to come. It's just an opinion. The vast majority of rabbis actually were against that notion, but most people don't know this. Anyways, on that note, guys, thank you for stopping by. It
is late. I was going to say good night also.
Yeah. Das Vidania. Take it easy, guys.
Good night.
Be well. And follow the host. Follow the